Hello everyone, and today we have some Honkai the Third lore. We are using Homo Labs. None of these videos are mine. I'm just reacting to them. We're probably gonna watch 3 or 4. I have 3 that's recommended by Tomato, and I believe they're all from Homo Labs. If not, then I will find out what they're from so you guys can check them out. Today we're learning about Welt, Himeko, the Honkai, and the Will of the Honkai, I believe the video is called. But first, I've been waiting for this Welt video for a long time so that I can finally know the lore of Welt. Alright. Let's learn about Welt from Star Rail finally.
If you never played Honkai Impact 3 before, you might be very confused as to why people lose their minds over this plain-looking grandpa that is seemingly obsessed with making anime and going on space adventures with a bunch of kids.
What's going on here?
Without knowing his backstory, well, it comes out as a pretty strange guy. I even saw people saying that...
You know what's really funny is I got spoiled early during my Star Wars play that Himeko and Welt were holdovers from Honkai the Third, so I did know that they had backstory that I was not familiar with, so I never got that impression. But that is funny though. Alright. You can't hear anything I'm saying. Can you turn... Sure. How about now? It might be your phone, though, but let's try that again. I want to make sure everyone can hear me. Can you hear me now? Oh, the video volume. I can hear you. Okay, that makes sense. All right, we will do that. We will replay the thing. Let me change my volume back, and then we will turn up the video volume. Let me know if this is okay.
If you never played Honkai Impact 3 before, you might be very confused as to why people lose their minds over this plain-looking grandpa that is seemingly obsessed with making anime and going on space adventures with a bunch of kids.
How do you do, fellow kids?
What?
It's okay though, without knowing his backstory, well, it comes out as a pretty strange guy. I even saw people saying that, and I quote, "He's ugly and
I can turn it up just a little bit more.
Why would anyone want to play?"
Hey, it's that angry game dude.
I'll
And Ryan, I do work on. Do I work on Saturday? I do not work on Saturday. All right.
have to borrow a quote from a certain individual known as Jesus. "Forgive them, Father, for they do not know what they are doing," or saying in this case. So, let me get my glasses and let Grandpa Homo Labs tell you youngsters a story. A story about a hero who saved Earth countless times. A man that endured insurmountable obstacles and managed to rise to the challenge every time, shouting in the face of adversity, "I am Welt of humanity, and I stand against you, Dark Queen, as a warrior guardian of the human race." Okay, to be fair, his lines are a bit corny, but even so, you can't help but fangirl over this man whenever he appears. It is no surprise that Hoyoverse chose him to be the one character from Honkai Impact 3 to come over to Star Rail. We even have a meme in the Honkai community that Welt is just Dawei as a self-insert in the story. Anyway, here is everything you need to know about Welt Yang before you embark on your trailblazing journey with him.
I do have to say, at least it's not that one commercial with the AI voice saying like, "You can choose your own adventure." This isn't the main way of, oh my goodness, that commercial is so stupid. Okay, I'm excited about this Welt video.
Joachim Nokian Vartanen, aka Walt Yang, is a character with a very long history. But before learning anything about his chadliness, we must learn about the man whose name he inherited, Walt Joyce. Throughout the history of human civilization, major Honkai incidents that lead to the deaths of thousands are referred to as Honkai eruptions. These are usually accompanied by the awakening of Hershers, powerful beings that can bend physical laws. In 1952, the first Honkai eruption took place in Berlin and took the lives of 300,000 people. Amidst the ruins of the disaster, a young man that didn't have any memories of his past was wandering around. Due to a special property of the core of reason, the minds of the 300,000 deceased were absorbed into his Hersher core and allowed the man to resist the influence of the Honkai, making it possible for him to become the first Hersher that fights for humanity. He was eventually found by a secret organization that combats the Honkai, known as Schicksal. After years of experimentation, he was transferred to the Schicksal's London division, where he met Mophead and Lobster, Einstein and Tesla, for the first time. He also got to know a
I did hear about that, that he was trained by Tesla and Einstein. I only remembered Einstein, but I did remember Tesla later. That's kind of cool because it's like the history of Earth at the same time, but it's like a different reality than we lived in. That doesn't look like Welt, but that might have been the first Welt. I got told that the Welt we know is like the second Welt, but we'll see what this guy says. It's not actually a long video for the history of Welt. I assumed it was going to be longer, but we will see. Alright, back to the video.
a scientist by the name of Elias Nokian Vartanen. There, the man was treated with kindness and respect, and Einstein even chose a name for him, Welt, which is German for world, and Joyce after the Irish author James Joyce. In the time spent there, Welt catches the eye of Elias's son, a small and shy boy by the name of Joachim. Alas, fate
Is that our Welt? Is that our Welt?
gaze upon them. They discovered that Schicksal was hiding many secrets and that Otto Apocalypse, the current overseer of the organization and a professional clown, had more important plans than fighting the Honkai. They also discovered a weapon left by a previous civilization from 50,000 years ago known as the Previous Era that was wiped out by the Honkai. The weapon was called the Star of Eden, and it was made from the Hersher core of the Previous Era Hersher of Earth, who had the power to control gravity and sunk an entire continent under.
That's literally Welt's power is gravity.
Onwards, the Star of Eden became the signature weapon of the Hersher of Reason. As things escalated, a confrontation between Ado and Welt's group was imminent. Ado killed Elias and took over.
Okay, now I just had something come to my mind. The Herschel of Reason, are the Herschels, are the demigods of Amphorius based on the Herschels? That would make so much sense. You have the demigod of reason, you have the Herschel of reason. If I find out that there's a Herschel of word building, or word bearing, or the Herschel of death, or the Herschel of golden thread, or whatever, or travel, then that would 100% confirm that the demigods are based on the Herschels. That would be funny. We have the Herschel of reason here, which is suspicious enough. Alright, back to the story.
The body of a Valkyrie named Rihanna, causing a lot of havoc. Joyce, with very little time, managed to take control of his powers and fought back. Ado, who was pushed into a corner, decided to blow up the entire city of New York to make sure that no one who knew his secrets will live.
What do you say when a Jewish boy is kicked on a New York City sidewalk? When there are no
Joyce used his remaining powers to create a barrier and protect the city from the incoming nukes. He was successful, but the damage he sustained was too much for his body. In his last moments, Joyce entrusted his Herrscher core and name to the young Joachim, who lost both his father and his hero on that day. After those events, the Schicksal American branch renamed itself into Anti-Entropy, and Joachim, who now goes by the name Welt Yang, became the new sovereign of the organization. In the year 2000, the second eruption gave birth to the Herrscher of the Void in Siberia. The Herrscher was a girl named Sirin, who was a test subject in Schicksal's Babylon Tower. Anti-Entropy was forced to take action, and Welt engaged the Herrscher in a direct fight. He used all the might of human civilization to create a fleet of tanks, ships, aircrafts, and other weapons to stop Sirin. I think I should mention here that the Herrscher of Reason has the power to construct literally anything as long as the user has an understanding of that object's composition. Welt is almost victorious, but Otto disguised himself and stopped Welt from dealing the final blow because he needed the Herrscher's powers for his goal. Sirin escaped to the moon, where she got blessed with even more power from the wheel of Honkai and challenged Welt to a final battle on the giant piece of cheese. Welt was like,
Challenge accepted.
but knowing that he cannot win, he planned to blow up his own Herrscher core and take out both himself and Sirin at the same time. In the end, he traveled to the moon together with Siegfried, one of Schicksal's knights, and Kiana Kaslana's father. Welt's plan ultimately failed, and Sirin took his core before he can detonate it. Welt died, but in a true Sigma male fashion, he already had a plan in place even for this turn of events. Since the Herrscher of Reason's core can house human minds, he transferred his consciousness into the core right before his physical body died. Then, he waited for an opportunity to strike and used his powers to construct a new body for himself. With his intervention, the tides of the battle were turned against the Herrscher of the Void, and humanity emerged victorious. In the following years, Welt took up the role of a substitute teacher, at a university in America. One of his students was Murata Himeko.
I literally was talking, of course you guys couldn't hear me. I have it off so that when I chew you guys don't hear it. But I had a DoorDash, went and got the DoorDash, and then yeah, that's all there is. Okay, let's go back to the video.
The Herrscher of the Void, and humanity emerged victorious. In the following years, Welt took up the role of a substitute teacher at a university in America. One of his students was Murata Himeko, a young girl interested in studying the stars and the galaxy. During that time, Himeko traveled to New Mexico to investigate some UFO sightings, and Welt accompanied her to keep
Hey, Greg Gaver. I'm doing well. How about you?
her away from the truth, since those alleged UFO sightings were actually tests that anti-entropy was doing in the area. Himeko's father, Murata Ryusuke, was a Shixel researcher who ran away from Aro and sought help from anti-entropy. He discovered the existence of a small and fluffy alien species called the Sugars, and even befriended one of them named Peppermint. The Sugars were hiding on Earth from another alien civilization called the Sky People. The Sky People traveled to different worlds to harvest Honkai energy, causing destruction in the process. In an attempt to combat one of Sky People's vanguard stones that was approaching Earth, Welt and Ryusuke boarded a rocket and flew into space. After dealing with it, Ryusuke suddenly started monologuing about humanity's potential and revealed his true intention. He wanted to steal Welt's Herrscher power.
By the way, anyone who monologues is instantly a villain in Honkai. You can just tell. Even though the heroes monologue, they don't use the word monologue. How are you doing? So you mostly stream this? No, not at all. I normally stream me playing video games or me doing other things, or like talking about subjects and stuff. This is a reaction stream to one of the games I play. So I play Star Rail, I play ZZ, and I play Genshin, and I can't afford to play a fourth game right now, so we are learning about Honkai the Third because it is prevalent to all the other games I play. So this is just a learning stream. This is the least amount of stuff I stream. Yeah, so this is just a reaction video, essentially.
Called the Sky People. The Sky People travel to different worlds to harvest Honkai energy, causing destruction in the process. In an attempt to combat one of Sky People's vanguard stones that was approaching Earth, Welt and Ryusuke boarded a rocket and flew into space. After dealing with it, Ryusuke suddenly started monologuing about humanity's potential and revealed his true intention. He wanted to steal Welt's Herrscher powers.
I suggest you must try some story-based games. Bez, your stream is really good and engaging. Thank you so much. All the games I play is story-based. It's anime-related games. I run an anime YouTube channel. So every game I play is story-based. Yep. Also anime-based. But yeah. All right.
To fulfill his plan and free humanity from this planet. Ryusuke killed Peppermint and took over his powers. With some help from the Sugars, Whelp defeated Ryusuke and put an end to his madness. The Sugars, although grateful to Welt for saving them, decided to leave this world since their existence has been discovered. Himeko, who was kept in the dark, gave up on her studies and joined Shixel as a Valkyrie to investigate what really happened to her father. Unlike Himeko, you don't have to join a secret military organization to learn more about the Honkai. All you need to do is subscribe to this channel and give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Thank you. Not much happens during this time. Welt is hiding and poses as a teacher at Saint Freya, a Valkyrie school built by Teresa Apocalypse in the Far East. In the meantime, Kokolia, a
Days, okay, so you should try Days Gone By and The Last of Us. So I have played The Last of Us. I played both games. I really liked the first game. I thought the second game was stupid. I wouldn't mind trying Days Gone By. I've seen that game at stores before, but yeah, I played both Last of Us games. So unfortunately, for my streaming channel, it was before I streamed, so you wouldn't get a genuine reaction. It would be me trying to fake the reaction to it. All right.
Another anti-entropy agent tries to take advantage of Welt's absence and take over the organization using a clone of Welt, Joyce. In the end, Welt reveals his identity and easily defeats the clone created by Cocolia, proving that no fake can ever match him. In the events of the game, Welt and Einstein made multiple experiments involving the Sea of Quanta, which is this strange.
Thank you. I'm a nice and kind human being, apparently. But anyway. He said Cocolia, so Cocolia is from Honkai the Third and not just from Starwell as well. That's interesting. Okay. I didn't know that.
In the events of the game, Welt and Einstein made multiple experiments involving the Sea of Quanta, which is this.
Wait, why is Einstein a woman? Einstein's a woman in this, it looks like.
Strange dimension that exists in between different worlds. One day, they come into contact with.
I had a feeling that you were one of the artists. You're number 85. Okay, let me tell you a little thing about my Twitch. My Twitch only has 32 followers right now. I'm sure you're one of them because it was 31 before I started. I'm not big enough to get artwork from people or do anything like that. You guys are entirely nice people. I love that you guys do artwork for people, and it's fantastic. I'm not big enough for that. My main thing is my YouTube channel, and my Twitch is outreach for that YouTube channel. If I get to 100 followers, maybe I'll employ one of you guys to do artwork for me. But the thing about it right now is I'm not big enough to invest, and also I'm not investing in Twitch right now. I'm investing in YouTube. So that's where I am. I stream on both platforms simultaneously. But I try to direct people to my YouTube channel from Twitch. I rather have the YouTube watch time than have the Twitch watch time, if that makes sense. So it's not intentional, and if you guys only like my Twitch, then you guys are free to watch my Twitch. I will always stream on Twitch. It's my main stream, but YouTube is the one I care about. Yeah, I'm not gonna look at any work. I appreciate the offer, but till I get 100 followers or it even matters for that, there's no reason for me to look at anyone's work. No, I wouldn't. I'm sorry. And I'm trying to be as nice as possible. You're number 85 who has, since I've been streaming on Twitch since January 1st, you're literally number 85 to ask me that. And I had a bad run-in with one of you guys, and it's not you. So I had a bad run-in where I gave my Discord and everything, and they wouldn't leave me alone until I bought something. So I ended up banning them from my Discord. So I'm not going to go through that again. Sorry about that. All right.
A powerful entity known as the Serpent who wanted to escape into reality. To prevent that, Welt sealed himself inside the Sea of Quanta to make sure that the Serpent will not escape. After the reawakening of the Hersher of the Void, Cocolia and her forces retreated to the Deep End, an underwater city left behind by the people of the previous era. There,
and thus unfollow. The thing about I don't hate anyone who tries to propose their job. They're just trying to get people into their artwork and trying to get a name on their slab that they can say that they recruited. I totally understand that. In fact, I have a lot of followers that do this, and I don't blame them at all. But when they just follow me simply because they want my money or want me to look at their artwork, I get a little offended about that. Like, he literally unfollowed me because I told him no. So that's the kind of person I wouldn't want to ever go in business with, and that's why like there's a few that still followed me after I told them no, like Dragon. Let me pull them up real quick because I don't want to butcher their name. Dragonfire and Shark Tank. I would probably buy artwork from someday because they stayed and followed me. That shows that they cared enough that even after I told them no. But Grey Gava right here, I would never buy artwork from because they just proved that they were only in here to try to solicit me into getting their artwork. So now that's on my list of never to buy artwork from. Just saying, if you come in here and don't follow me but try to solicitate me, that's fine. But if you follow me and then unfollow me because I told you no, you have just guaranteed that I will never buy artwork from you. Thank you. That's my public service announcement. Back to Welt.
Made multiple experiments involving the Sea of Quanta, which is this strange dimension that exists in between different worlds. One day, they come into contact with a powerful entity known as the Serpent, who wanted to escape into reality. To prevent that, Welt sealed himself inside the Sea of Quanta to make sure that the Serpent will not escape. After the reawakening of the Hersher of the Void, Kokolia and her forces retreated to the deep end.
So Kokoria and her, is she the Hersher of Void? Interesting. There's no demigod of Void though, so that kind of throws out my theory that the demigods are based on. I think they are loosely based on, or the demigods are loosely based on the Herschels. I think that for sure. But it's not going to be exactly the same, and that's what I'm seeing now. So. Give me a second, guys. I'm trying to find where the stupid pancake butter is, but I'm beginning to think that they did not send me pancake butter.
An underwater city left behind by the people of the previous era. There, they were attacked by Schicksal forces, and left without options, Kokolia asked Teresa, Einstein and Tesla for help. After a big turn of events, Bronya ends up jumping into the Sea of Quanta and meets Joachim, a kid version of Welt who has prepared a set of trials for her. After Bronya cleared them, Joachim deemed her as a worthy successor to the Hersher of Reason's powers and passed the core to her. They eventually meet the Serpent, who turned out to be Kevin Kaslana, one of the heroes of the previous era who fought the Honkai 50,000 years ago. Bronya was quickly defeated, but Welt, who stored his consciousness inside the core again, recreates his body and saves her. In the end, they were unable to stop the Serpent's escape, but managed to safely return to reality. Welt wants to let Bronya take over the core of Reason and offers to teach her how to use the Hersher of Reason's powers properly.
This RPG game is crazy. In this game, you'll never know what's ahead of you. It may be a hidden boss, right around the corner, its level way above.
After the Honkai was sealed on the moon, Welt opened up an animation studio where he worked on multiple projects, the most notable one being Arahato, a mecha anime that he started a few decades ago to get some funding for anti-entropy. One day, Schicksal sent a squad formed by Raiden May, Carol Peppers and Mr. Paycheck to Saint Fontaine. Their mission was to find and rescue Welt Yang, who disappeared in the city a few days prior. Saint Fontaine was
Wait a second. So why remain comes from this game too. Seems like every character comes from this game. Ooh, ooh. Yeah, Red and May right there. Okay. It seems like every character comes from this game.
Entropy. One day, Schicksal sent a squad formed by Raiden May, Carol Peppers, and Mr. Paycheck to Saint Fontaine. Their mission was to find and rescue Welt Yang, who disappeared in the city a few days prior. Saint Fontaine was facing an unprecedented crisis, and instead of humans, the city was full of strange mechanical creatures that turned out to be the Sky People, who were brought to Earth by Void Archives, a sentient divine key from the previous era, to get rid of the Honkai on the moon. I know, it sounds really complicated, but don't beat your head around it too much. After they've dealt with the threat of the Sky People, Welt and Void Archives infiltrated one of the Sky People's spaceships. There, they found out that the Sky People are targeting Himeko, but not Himeko from Honkai Impact Third that Welt knew. Instead, it's another Himeko from a different world, Honkai Star Rail.
Oh my goodness, this is so cool.
That he is, Welt wanted to save her, but first somebody needed to save him from the Sky People's ship. Luckily, the Sugars were nearby and they didn't forget Welt's kindness, so they saved and brought both him and Void Archives back to Earth. From there, we don't really know how Welt made it to Himeko and the Astral Express. We only have this dialogue from Himeko in which she says that she found Welt and his friend, who is most likely Void Archives since they refer to him as a he, while visiting a world called Salsoto in a mission from Herta to look for a material called Candace Glass. Most likely, after returning to Earth, Welt found a way to travel to Himeko's world, and since then he's been stuck on the Astral Express searching for a way back home. Thankfully, his spirit and youthful vigor haven't changed, and now he enjoys a new set of adventures through the galaxy while guiding a new generation of youngsters on their journey. I mean, it's not like he has a wife and a child waiting for him back home. Oh wait, I guess you could say that he really went to buy some milk.
I'm gonna assume him and Himiko's are gonna get together someday. This video was recommended by Tomato, and this was one of the videos we were gonna watch, so we'll just watch it. We liked and we subbed to the channel, so.
Graduation was so exciting, and I don't even think it was just for me. It was for my...
Spoiler warning! This video contains major spoilers for Honkai Impact Third. If you are planning to play the game, please do not proceed. Although, given how much the Honkai community likes to talk about Himeko on the internet, I'm sure that you already know about her fate even without playing. But if by any chance you do not, then what are you doing? Go and play Honkai Impact Third.
Hello, Anime X Asia. Nice seeing you.
What to do. Ever since they announced Himeko as a playable character in Honkai Star Rail, a lot of Honkai Impact Third players were hyped beyond control. Okay, maybe that's an exaggeration. Or maybe not. After almost 5 years of Himekopium, we are finally here. It's no secret that Himeko is one of the most beloved characters in Honkai Impact Third. So, seeing her again in Honkai Star Rail felt like a happy reunion between friends. As I'm sure that you know if you're still here, Himeko died in Honkai Impact Third, and her sacrifice was one of the biggest turning points in the story. This video is a look into Himeko's character in both games, showcasing how Honkai Star Rail Himeko represents a second chance for the character to realize her dreams. Murata Himeko lived a life full of loss and regret. When she was little, her mom died due to illness. She was raised by her father, Murata Ryusuke. Ryusuke was a Schicksal researcher tasked with studying the fourth divine key, a satellite from a previous civilization that could control the weather on the entire planet. Due to his work, Ryusuke had very little time to be with Himeko as she grew up. But even so, Himeko loved and admired her father, wanting to to become a researcher like him when she grew up. Himeko's childhood dream was to board a spaceship and explore the universe. Because of that, she began to study astronomy and developed a passion for UFO sightings and aliens. After graduating high
I know nothing about Honkai the Third's Himiko other than she was addicted to alcohol, and she was a very, very powerful Valkyrie, and she is the aunt of the main character Kaslana. Ariana Kaslana, something like that. I guess Kevin is related to her too, but in some way, like great ancestor or something. But I didn't even know Himiko died till someone told me in Honkai the Third. It's really weird because Star Wheel doesn't have any deaths that stick so far. Apparently, Honkai the Third has deaths all the time. It's the only gacha game in the series that I've seen have deaths. Now, I've heard Genshin gets very sad. So Genshin probably has a lot of deaths too, I would assume. But I do not know for sure. So, Star Whale hasn't had any meaningful deaths yet. There's deaths in it, but we're only told about those deaths. We're not told about, like, everybody we know. They die and come back. So, in ZZ, we've had no deaths yet. So, I just do not know. Yeah, so it's really weird to see Himiko dead in this. But Star Whale Himiko, we don't know that much about either because we haven't had any like mini story beats with her, and I'm all caught up on the story. So I feel like she is gonna play a major role later on in the game. But Himiko is the exact opposite as the Himiko from Honkai the Third. I'm told she is refined. Well, I'm told the exact opposite. She's refined, and instead of being an alcoholic, she's a coffee maniac, which, if you know, coffee is anti-alcoholic. If you are drunk, they tell you to drink coffee and water in order to get to be undrunk. So the thing is, coffee is the opposite of alcohol. So I find it funny that she's a coffee maniac. She's always drinking coffee in Honkai Star Rail. Alright. That's just a little thing I've learned along the way.
High school, Himeko enrolled at the California Institute of Technology to study aerospace and space engineering. At the institute, Himeko studied under people like Einstein and Walt Yang, who she greatly admired. Walt even accompanied her on a UFO sighting trip to New Mexico, although it was to conceal the truth behind it from her. Unfortunately for Himeko, her life was about to take a turn for the worse. Plagued with guilt and regret for years, Murata Ryusuke went mad. In his crazy mission, he tried to kill and take over Walt's powers to free humanity from this planet. Fortunately, he was stopped by Walt before he could do any real damage, but Himeko got hurt in the process. Fearing that the truth about her father might be too much for young Himeko, Walt and Einstein chose not to tell her that her father was a maniac, leaving her to believe that he was the good man that she always thought him to be. Himeko found out that her father worked for a military organization called Shixel. Shixel's goal was to combat a destructive power that plagued the planet called Honkai. Himeko decided called destructive power.
Okay, so this person right here is almost a dead ringer for a ZZ character. That's the first character I've seen in any of the games that resembles ZZ character. So there you go on that.
destructive power that plagued the planet called Honkai. Himeko decided to give up on her dreams and enroll in Schicksal's Valkyrie program to unravel the truth behind her father's death. Due to having poor Honkai adaptability, Himeko was implanted with artificial stigmata. Stigmata are a product of biotechnology used to improve people's control over Honkai energy and allow them to fight. Stigmata also come with great risks, and using them for a long period of time can even cause death. After becoming a Valkyrie, Himeko became part of Schicksal's assault squad under Ragna Lodbrok. Himeko and Ragna developed a teacher-student relationship, with Himeko admiring her greatly. Unfortunately, during a special operation in Siberia in 2010, the entire assault squad was killed by the Herrscher of the Void's first awakening in Kiana's body. Himeko was the only survivor because she was not deployed on that mission. After losing yet another family, Himeko was recruited by Teresa Apocalypse as a teacher at Saint Freya Academy, a Valkyrie school in the Far East. By that time, Himeko became an alcoholic who never took things seriously and was always messing around. In 2014, during the Nagazora incident, Himeko found Kiana Kaslana, Raiden Mei, and Bronya Zajcik. She brought them back to St.
So Raiden Mei is a main character, even though that makes so much sense because Raiden Mei and Orul Mei, I should call her, in Star Rail is definitely a side character. She's part of the Genius Society, and we get a couple of quests with her. But she hasn't really figured into the main story since the beginning, and haven't had any meaningful role. It makes sense that she is the side character she is now, because she is such a prevalent character in this.
Saint Freya, where the girls enrolled in the academy. As time passed, Himeko and the girls got closer, with Himeko vowing to always protect them. After much loss, Himeko found people who she cared about yet again. But you know the saying, good things never last too long. And this is especially true in a Honkai game. In 2016, Atto Apocalypse, the overseer of Schicksal, woke up the Herrscher of the Void inside Kiana's body, triggering a global disaster. To save Kiana, Himeko and the girls from Saint Freya charge into Schicksal's headquarters. Himeko pushed herself to the limit, and her body was slowly falling apart due to her artificial stigmata. Fu Hua gave her a serum that could neutralize the Honkai infection and led her to the Vermilion Night Eclipse battlesuit, a powerful battlesuit that would allow her to fight the Herrscher of the Void on equal terms. Loss after loss, Himeko's life was a series of tragedies where the people she cared about the most died over and over again. This time, however, she was willing to do anything to stop that cursed cycle. After she donned the battlesuit, Himeko fought the Herrscher of the Void. Using all her powers, she got close enough to use the serum that could have saved her own life to help Kiana take back control over her body. After giving Kiana her final lesson, Himeko goes down
That's
with
a sword
smile,
that I was told about.
sinking into imaginary space as her life comes to an end.
Interesting. By the way, I am not convinced she's dead now. Every time someone falls in the cliff in anime, they are coming back. We will see. I wouldn't be surprised that you wake up one day and one of the events of Honkai the Third is literally Himeko coming back, brainwashed or something. It would be funny. Alright.
Himeko lost every single person that she cared about. She gave up on her dreams to find out the reason behind her father's death, and even after she joined Schicksal, she lost her mentor and everybody.
Okay, this confirms what I read about Welt feeling bad about Himeko, and that's why he wanted to protect Himeko in the Star Rail version, is because I bet he thinks he failed Himeko in this version.
in her squad. In the end, she became addicted to alcohol and fooled around just to run away from her problems. But when Kiana was in danger, she couldn't let the same thing happen again. Armed with fiery determination, she gave up her life to light up the embers of the future. Maybe in another world where the threat of Honkai isn't present to ruin everything, she can finally realize her dreams and travel through the stars to explore the universe. Oh, wait a minute. When I first read the Alien Space manga, I thought to myself, it would be so nice if we could get another Himeko that can fulfill her dreams. And here we are. Himeko in Honkai Star Rail had a completely different fate, but both of them shared the same dream. Honkai Star Rail Himeko was a major in interstellar travel dynamics in her own world. One day she saw the Astral Express falling down from the sky. After the Express showed her a myriad of magnificent worlds, their destinies became intertwined. Himeko repaired the Express and set out on an endless journey across the stars. During this journey, the Express stops at every world that Akivili, the Eon of Trailblaze, visited in the past and picks up new passengers. Each person has their own journey and their own destination. The first two passengers were Walt and the Golden Cube, the mysterious blonde person who we definitely don't know who it is. Shortly after,
It's the coffin guy, so he was in Honkai the Third. I was right. It's the coffin guy.
Dan Heng and March 7th also ended up on the Express due to their own special circumstances. In the meantime, Voidar, the mysterious blonde man, who we don't know who it is, left without even saying goodbye. But this never bothered Himeko. She knew from the beginning that this is a lonely journey. Each passenger will one day leave the Express except for her, because the Express is Himeko's destination. As long as people travel on the Express, they are like family to her. I found it fascinating how her story portrayed loneliness in both games. In one game, people around her kept dying, while in the other, she had to grow accustomed to the fact that every relationship she builds is just a fleeting moment as they travel together. And while I would argue that one is definitely worse than the other, it's interesting to see this character always associated with the theme of loneliness and loss through all the Hoyo games. Even her role in both games is very similar. In Honkai Impact 3rd, she is the captain of the Hyperion, while in Honkai Star Rail, she is the navigator of the Astral Express. In both games, she's a teacher-like figure for the main cast, and she's addicted to drinks that, if consumed in large amounts, can be harmful to your body. But I've gotta say, I think it's better to be addicted to coffee than alcohol. And now, to answer...
It is. Actually, coffee is one of the healthiest drinks you can drink. I love coffee. Absolutely. I think coffee is one of the greatest drinks ever invented. It's based on the cocoa bean, which also makes chocolate, by the way. But coffee's acidic nature and everything is really good for your body and really good for, moving things through your body and everything. If you drink anything in large amounts, even water, it can become a poison. Coffee's no different. Too much liquids in your body is bad. Too little liquids is bad. It's just, you gotta drink in moderation. But if you're gonna overindulge on a drink, coffee and tea and water are the best for you. And again, you don't want to drink too much, but if you're gonna indulge on a drink, coffee is one of the best drinks you can overindulge in.
The question that everybody has been asking: should you subscribe to Homo Labs? And the answer is yes, if you want to see more Honkai lore related content.
I'm already subscribed. Do we have more?
Of course. Thank you very much. Now,
okay, we do.
The other question that everybody has been asking: will Himeko die in Honkai Star Rail? Honestly, I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
Similar role in both games, and I can totally see Hoyoverse using her death to facilitate the growth of March, Dan Heng, and the Trash Blazer. I don't think that they will do it again. They've already done it in Honkai Impact 3rd with Kiana, so I don't see a reason for them to do it again. And in my opinion, it was already perfectly executed executed in Honkai Impact 3rd. No need to emulate it. Star Rail doesn't need to be a second Honkai Impact 3rd. Alas, this is Hoyoverse, so you'll never know. Let me know what you think in the comments. Do you believe that Himeko will die again? Himeko will always light up the sky and guide the people around her to a better future in every game. No matter if it's trailblazing through the stars or giving them the courage to fight for everything beautiful in the world, her unyielding flame will never burn out, be it through her own ambition or through the fiery will that she passed on. Torches might go out, moonlight might dim, but this eternal flow will always light the path ahead of you.
Interesting. Okay. Let's go into Hoyo Labs and see. There's 2 more videos Tomato wanted me to watch. Where are you? The imaginary tree. Oh, I actually wanted to see his idea of imaginary tree. So that is what we have. Oh, it's right here. Look at that.
Ready to lose the hat and regrow the hair? With Choose by Him.
And then we have the will of the Honkai afterwards. And then that will probably be it.
Where does it come from?
Okay, yeah, so this is something I couldn't find a straight answer for online. Is, like, what is the Honkai? Where is the Honkai? How is the Honkai a thing? Like, I couldn't find anything other than energy or whatever. Like, no one could tell me anything about it. Like, so it's good we have a video explaining this, because I couldn't find anything online about it.
What's its purpose? These are all questions that many people have regarding the mysterious phenomenon from MiHoYo's game. But why does nobody ask, how is the Honkai, huh? Maybe that's why it's so hell-bent on this.
Yeah, I don't understand. No one asked it, so the online doesn't answer it. Like, it just is such a weird thing that I can't find anything about the Honkai. Alright, here.
Destroying humanity. Welcome to Honkai Lore Explained, a new series in which I try to explain key lore elements from Honkai Impact 3rd with the hope of helping people form a basic understanding of what the hell is happening in this game. Today is the first video in a 3-part series about, well, the Honkai. In this video, we are taking a look at the origins of the Honkai and talk about the imaginary tree. The second part will be about the will of the Honkai and Honkai energy.
If you guys saw my Genshin stream yesterday, we had a big debate whether Honkai the Third and Star Rail were parallel universes, or the imaginary tree theory, which is something that I am not convinced of. I'm more convinced of parallel universes, for sure. But the imaginary tree theory is something that Tomato is convinced of, so it makes sense that Tomato would want me to watch this video. So we will see if this can convince me.
And in the last part, we'll talk about Hershers. So, if you're excited and want to support this series, leave a like and subscribe if you haven't. It helps me boost my fragile...
We might watch all 3 parts of this, because the imaginary tree is the first one, the will of the Herschel is the second one, which is what Tomato sent me for the last video. So we might as well finish the Herschels too, because I have questions about the Herschels now. Now that we know about the Herschel of reason, I have questions. Alright.
Self-esteem. Lastly, I ask you to keep in mind that some of the information may change, alter, or prove to be false as time passes and we learn more. Also, please note...
You hear that, Tomato? The imaginary tree theory might prove to be false the more we learn. Just saying.
That this is not a spoiler-free video. I will not disclose any major plot points, but I will refer to events from later parts of the game, manga, and visual novels. Without further ado, here is everything we know about the Honkai.
That's why it's called Honkai Impact. The Honkai impacting.
its most basic form, Honkai is energy that originates from the imaginary tree.
So it's energy. Okay, that's all I got online about it. And that makes sense. It's energy, but from the imaginary tree, which connects to all universes, which makes sense, but that doesn't take away my parallel universe theory. All right.
So, to keep the topic more organized, today I'm gonna explain what is the imaginary tree and what is the purpose of the Honkai energy. I imagine that most of you probably
When he was talking about the imaginary tree, I didn't realize that there was actually an imaginary tree. That gives a lot of backing to what he was saying.
figured it out already, but the imaginary tree is not an actual tree. I know, shocking, right? It's a higher dimension, a membrane
It's more shocking than Hassan's dog.
outside the normal perception abilities of a human. To understand the concept of the imaginary tree, just as the name suggests, imagine a tree that branches off into an infinity of new branches, each branch representing a universe.
So parallel universes confirmed, by the way. So I was right, Tomato. These leaves, they're separate universes. Parallel universes, as if were.
Those branches, new leaves are growing and old ones die. Now, think of those leaves
But
as
you were
each
right
being
too.
their own civilization. When a new civilization is born, the imaginary tree helps it evolve and develop by regulating the Honkai energy present in that respective civilization's world. Honkai is believed to be a mechanism of the imaginary tree to prune itself. As Otto theorizes in chapter 17,
しかし世界の発展には制限が必要だ。量子の海との競争の中、枝葉の成長方向はあるメカニズムによる選別と是正を受け続ける。それは自然にできたメカニズム。虚数に由来するメカニズム。保育と需要のメカニズム。そして洗礼と淘汰のメカニズムだ。人類にとってそれは崩壊という名の災害であった。そうさ、その通り。人類は永遠に崩壊から逃げられない。
Then the Honkai is not just any threat that humanity can get rid of. No, it's a system based on imaginary mechanics, a natural phenomenon within the imaginary tree with a purpose and a predetermined programming. Think of it as the cells in your body. They are essential to your existence and make your body function properly. This is why Otto says that the Honkai is inescapable. It's not something a civilization can just fight off. But if that's the case, then everything that our characters do is meaningless? Well, not really. Going back to Otto's quote, there is a very important word in there that may give us the answer. And that word is...
This is where the story of Warborn begins.
This is not the word.
And this is the war of ours.
I'm not gonna lie,
Yes.
YouTube commercials have been worse. Maybe I'll subscribe, not subscribe, but pay for YouTube TV just to avoid ads. Like, it's getting worse and worse, but we'll see. I'm not at the point where I want to pay money yet. All right, so tests.
The Honkai tests the civilizations on the imaginary tree and removes the ones that fail to pass.
今こそ裁きの時
In the second key manga, when Durandal meets Sue, the enforcer of Project Valuka from the previous era, we found out that he didn't manage to find any civilization that got rid of the Honkai in all of the years he has been observing the parallel universes on the imaginary tree.
See, confirmed. Parallel universes on the imaginary tree. That means parallel universes. Yep. But that also kind of cuts in on my theory that Genshin and Star Rail is of the same universe. I think they are, though. I think the original 7 become the Eons. I think ZZ is connected to Honkai Impact the Third. Those are just my revolving theories at this time. But I think they are on the same leaf if this is true.
This lets us know that whatever this test represent, not many civilizations managed to figure it out. Initially, it was believed that the Honkai is a mechanism that removes technologically advanced civilizations because it was trying to stop them from evolving and ascending to higher dimensions and becoming a threat to the balance of the imaginary tree. But from what we've seen so far, that may be not the case. If any civilization is a potential threat, why not eliminate it while it's still in a primitive state? Why wait for it to develop and become harder to deal with? So it's more likely that the Honkai is searching for a civilization that meets some sort of criteria and eliminates the ones that do not. Before you mention it in the comments, yes, there are indeed some civilizations that found a way to work around the threat of the Honkai. But note, they did not defeat the Honkai, nor did they pass the test, they just managed to hide. First, we have the Sugars. They are the small coffee-obsessed fluffy race that we see in Alien Space and Chapter 25 EX. We know that they fought against the Honkai, but were found and invaded by the Sky People at some point, after which they made a bubble universe called the Candy House and uploaded their consciousness into it. They survive by attaching themselves to newer civilizations on the imaginary tree and collecting Honkai energy to sustain their bubble universe. Second are the Sky People. They are the strange mechanical creatures and main antagonists in a post-Honkai Odyssey. Many believe that the Sky People found a way to beat the Honkai, but it's highly implied that not to be the case.
Interesting.
Keep in mind that
So
this is
Sky
mostly my
People.
speculation.
Interesting.
But I think they have turned themselves into mechanical beings that found
Those are the people that sought their sights on Himiko, right? And that's how Welt found the other universe, or the Himiko, the other universe.
function and feed on Honkai energy, setting them on an endless space crusade to invade other civilizations and harvest their Honkai energy. As a result, they literally cheated their way around the Honkai in a very similar manner that Kevin and the Word Serpent tried to do to Project Stigma. But I guess we'll find out more in a post-Honkai Odyssey 2. With chapters 26 and 27 out, some new information regarding the imaginary tree has surfaced due to Otto being and messing with it, which gives us a better understanding on how it actually works. Up until this point, the civilizations on the imaginary tree were referred to as leaves. But since chapter 26, to better illustrate the flow of time and how it branches into multiple parallel worlds within the tree, the civilizations on the tree are also referred to as branches. And to be honest, this makes a lot more sense. But what does this mean? Not much, really. Honkai Impact 3rd, especially
It does,
the
actually.
English localization,
That makes so much
it's
sense.
known for messing a lot of terms and concepts, a lot of times using them in a very inconsistent manner, so don't think too much about it. We learn that the worlds within the imaginary tree are all confined to time flowing in one direction. A linear one-directional time flow is how the imaginary tree expands. Again, using the tree analogy, imagine the branches of a tree expanding and constantly breaching out into parallel worlds. Let's say that you wake up one morning and you're given the choice to eat a healthy meal for your breakfast or ice cream. Based on the imaginary mechanics,
Ice cream
time
every
can
time.
branch into
Ice
two
cream
different
every
universes at this point, and each universe will have its own separate flow of time. One in which you chose the healthy breakfast and had a very productive day, and another one in which you... So, in simple terms, the concept of time
Ew,
flowing
so
is just
much
the
ew.
imaginary tree expanding. As Nagamitsu pointed out in chapter 26, outside the imaginary tree, time is chaotic and has no determined direction. In places such as the Sea of Quanta, the chaotic time flow ends up eroding everything. Ultimately, to achieve his goal, Arrow made a deal with the Wheel of the Honkai that lets him cut off the last 500 years from the Honkai Impact 3's main universe branch of time on the imaginary tree to revert it back to a time where Callan was alive.
Really? Interesting.
You can choose to raid the caravan, or you can choose to guard.
I hate this commercial. This commercial is the stupidest of all time. No one's gonna play this game. Like, ugh.
Essentially, he is not time traveling, more so that he is cutting 500 years worth of time from the main universe's branch on the imaginary tree. On the other hand, the Sea of Quanta is another higher dimension that exists between the multiple universes within the imaginary tree. The best analogy in regards to it is given by Einstein in chapter 10. If we think of each universe as a glass of water, the Sea of Quanta is a puddle formed by the water that flows out from each of the glasses. It is a chaotic amalgamation of data from multiple universes, but unlike the imaginary tree that has order and can sustain data, the Sea of Quanta doesn't have the one-directional time flow to give any sense to it. That is why it has no form or properties of its own and needs an observer to make any sense of it. It's the place where all the worlds that don't get any more support from the imaginary tree and cannot sustain themselves anymore end up falling and eventually are destroyed and end up transformed into data. But more on the Sea of Quanta in a special lore video dedicated to it in the future. Imaginary tree, a higher dimension from where every universe is born. It is represented by the one-directional flow of time that branches into multiple parallel universes. Honkai comes from the imaginary tree, and it is a mechanism designed to nurture, test, and remove the civilizations within the imaginary tree. Honkai is a cosmic law, not something that can be defeated. The only way to stop it is by passing the test. If a civilization passes the test, the Honkai will leave it alone and it will continue to receive support from the imaginary tree and be allowed to continue to exist within it. If it fails, the civilization is destroyed and its world will eventually fall into the Sea of Quanta, where chaos will disintegrate everything into data.
Okay, we are learning a lot more stuff. There was a Will of the Honkai, right? That was supposed to be on next. How bad was it? They, I don't know. Maybe they thought it was bad. Honkai Will. Will the Honkai. Okay, this is the one that he wanted us to watch. We will like because we are watching. Did we not subscribe to him? I thought we already subscribed. We are subscribing because we are using his videos.
Is a esoteric entity that resides in its own plane of existence and has a direct link with the imaginary tree that allows it to control the amount of Honkai energy that comes from the imaginary space into the base reality. Welcome to the second video in the Honkai Lore Explained video series. Today we will take a look at the mysterious entity referred to as the Wheel of the Honkai, and also talk about the nature of the Honkai energy in the base reality. If you're interested in learning more about the Honkai, you can check out my previous...
Well, he's a Honkai the third player. Who says that's the base reality? Maybe the base reality is actually Honkai Star Rail.
This video about the origins.
I'm not gonna lie, Star Rail is so beloved now. I wouldn't put it past Honkai or Holyverse to say that Honkai Star Rail is the main branch.
The Honkai energy
or
and
Genshin, not Impact the Third.
Imaginary tree. The link is in the description. Now, without further ado, let's dive into the video. In the early parts of the game, we are told that Honkai is a mysterious phenomenon of unknown origins that happens to rise with the human civilization and grows stronger as the technology becomes more advanced. And this happens for a reason. As I mentioned in the previous video, Honkai is energy that is leaking from the imaginary tree. In its nature, it's a highly dangerous entropic energy that can cause natural disasters, diseases, and can manifest itself in many forms. One of those forms are the Honkai beasts. They are silicon-based life forms that embody the direct manifestation of the Honkai and can form in places with high Honkai energy concentration. Zombies, as the name suggests, they are corpses that are corrupted by the Honkai and act like mindless creatures enforcing its will. It's important to note that the game refers to zombies in Chapter 2 as corpses brought back to life by the Honkai, but through the game we can also observe zombification as a state that can happen after a human being is exposed to Honkai energy and becomes infected. As we can see in Chapter 9, when Tesla injects herself with...
I turned it off. Hey, Tomato, how are you? I am watching every single video you gave me, plus we watched a Welt one earlier as well. So this is the last video you gave me.
A lethal dose of Honkai to test the Spear of Destiny. In her vision, she saw herself transcending the zombie and becoming a mighty Honkai beast. So we can assume that the zombified state can both apply to corpses brought back to life and infected by the Honkai, and as a stage a corrupted organism goes when transforming into a Honkai beast. This part is a bit confusing because MiHoYo never really go in depth in explaining this process, and also some definitions such as the one they gave in Chapter 2 might be outdated, but to make it simpler for you to understand, think of it like this. If it's a creature with very distinct animalic or alien features, it's a Honkai beast, and if it's a mindless human-like creature, it's a zombie. Another form that the Honkai can take is the form of the subscribe button. See that red button below the video that says subscribe? That's the Honkai. You better press the button to eliminate it.
I pressed the button.
So don't hesitate. Press that subscribe button and be the hero that defeats the Honkai. Because Honkai is a form of energy, it can also be harnessed. In the previous era, humans had the technology to convert Honkai energy into normal energy to ensure that it could be safely used by anyone. Unfortunately, in the current era, this technology is not available and Honkai energy is used only in controlled mediums. Since it's a highly dangerous energy that can infect anybody that has a low Honkai resistance, its usage is very limited.
I think this confirms in ZZ that the hollows are Honkai energy and that the ethereals are Honkai as well. I think this confirms it.
Think of it as some sort of nuclear energy, but much more dangerous. The only thing that could handle it are special power plants designed to contain it, like the Babylon Towers, where Sirin was experimented on.
I stream at all times during the day, but I was too tired last night to stream. So you'll eventually get a live show when you're off of work. It's just a matter of time. I have no set time streaming, unfortunately, because of the job I have. So you'll eventually come in to a time when the live show will be when you're at home. But right now, it's just a spot of bad luck, I'm afraid, for you.
Anti-Entropy uses it to power their mechs, Chixol uses it to create artificial stigmata that they implant in humans with higher Honkai resistance to create Valkyries and for their weapons and battle suits, and Word Serpent uses technology from the previous era to safely combat the radiations.
I'm not gonna lie, these commercials are insane today.
As far as we know, Honkai has two ways to enter base reality from the imaginary tree. One is through Hersher cores, specialized faucets that form inside the body of a Hersher that serve as a link with the imaginary space and can draw out the Honkai energy. And the second one, and most common, is through a dimensional leakage or dimensional bleed. We learn in chapter 25EX that the entity known as the Will of the Honkai has control over that process. Knowing this, we can assume that the amount of Honkai energy present in our world is always controlled by a...
That's fine. The one I've already watched the Welt one, so we've already watched one extra. We're gonna watch the Herschel one because this is the end of this segment, and this is all we're gonna do today. Is I think I've been streaming for over an hour now. Yeah, so we're gonna watch this one, then we're gonna watch the Herschel one because it finishes like the arc, and you can send me more if you want at a and I'll watch it the next time. But yeah, okay.
Will. This may also explain why Honkai rises with humanity's advancements. In my previous video, I explained how the Honkai energy is used to test the civilizations on the imaginary tree. Well, in the same light, the Will of the Honkai is the enforcer of the said test. There's also one thing that I want to make clear. And that's the fact that the Will of the Honkai and the Herrscher of the End that we see in the previous era are not the same entity.
Thanks, Captain Obvious.
But you'd be surprised to find out how many people believe this misconception. The Will of the Honkai is a formless entity that resides in its own plane of existence and has a direct link with the imaginary tree that allows it to control the amount of Honkai energy that comes from the imaginary space into the base reality. On the other hand, the Herrscher of the End is the final weapon of the Honkai, a Herrscher so powerful that when it arrives, no civilization stands a chance against it. Even if the Herrscher of the End is a powerful entity that has full control over the Honkai energy, it's still a Herrscher at the end of the day. It has a physical form and can be damaged. We know this because Kevin managed to knock her out for a few hours when they fought on the moon in the previous era. The existence of the Will of the Honkai was rumored and theorized for many years, but it was never confirmed until the second eruption in the year 2000 when it came into direct contact with Sirin and Ado. We do not know yet if this entity that they came into contact with is a localized form of the Will of the Honkai that only observes one base reality and acts based on the changes and evolution of the civilizations within it, or if it's a consistent force across all the branches of the imaginary tree. But from these encounters and what we learned from the later chapters of the game, we know that the Will of the Honkai has no direct way of interfering with the world. All it can do is progress the evolution of the Honkai in the base reality by releasing more Honkai energy from the imaginary space, but even this process has certain limitations. We can see this very clear in chapter 25EX when Ado manages to re-establish a connection with it. For a very long time, the Will of the Honkai seemed like this powerful godlike being that could wipe us all out whenever it wants. But Ado states in chapter 25EX that it might not be the case. It has the knowledge, but it seems to lack the power to do so at the moment. We do not know why or what that means. Maybe it is just not that powerful and we interpreted its meaning wrong. Maybe it's restrained by some rules and cannot exercise the full extent of its power, but it's clearly bothered by Kevin and Project Stigma, hence why it made a deal with Ado. The Will of the Honkai seems to also have some kind of goal of its own, or at least it's aware of some deterrents that can cause some problems for its goal and is trying to prevent them by making a deal with Ado and allowing him to cut 500 years worth of time from the base reality branch of the imaginary tree. Most likely, as I previously said, its limitations have something to do with the test to determine if a civilization is worthy of receiving continuous support from the imaginary tree. This also tells us that the Will of the Honkai has to play by some kind of rules and it's not necessarily an omnipotent force. To a certain degree, of course. It is also shown that the Wheel of the Honkai possesses an almost limitless amount of knowledge regarding the imaginary tree, the multiverse, and the existence itself. During the second eruption, when Aro comes into contact with it for the first time, the Wheel of the Honkai overloads his brain with so much knowledge that he literally cannot handle it. That is also when Aro realizes that the entity before him is truly a god compared to him. A very interesting prospect brought up by Aro in his dialogue with Durandal in chapter 27 is the fact that from the perspective of the Wheel of the Honkai, which is basically in very simple terms self-aware Honkai energy, creating Hershers represents the ultimate act of freedom, hinting at the fact that Hershers are the ultimate form the Honkai can take, and hinting that humanity is a necessary cage that helps solidify the Honkai.
That they may take our lives.
Interesting. Interesting.
This leaves room to interpret that the Honkai and humanity have a much closer relationship than people might have thought, implying that the civilization is basically some kind of storage for the Honkai that allows it to manifest in its truest form. I think that this is a very fascinating idea that will be further explored in the story as we progress and will play a major role when we will uncover more about its true nature. Oh, and speaking of Hershers, the Wheel of the Honkai can also choose a person to become a Hersher, but more on that in the next video exclusively dedicated to them. So,
I haven't been to the grocery store in
the Wheel of the Honkai in the next video exclusively dedicated. Hershers are the ultimate manifestation of the Honkai. Powerful beings that awaken.
There we go. This is the last one we have on the docket today. Fascinating stuff so far. We've learned, we're going to learn about Herschels, and we know that Welt is one of them. So, okay. All right. Also, Tomato, I don't know if you realize this, but my Himiko fact I talked about yesterday, how Welt felt remorse and guilty about Himiko, is confirmed here. Welt lying about Himiko's father dying and how he died and why he died is what led Himiko along this path that led to her death. So, alright.
Hershers are the ultimate manifestation of the Honkai. Powerful beings that awaken when a Hersher core solidifies or is manually implanted inside the body of a vessel. A vessel must be someone with extremely high Honkai resistance to withstand the large amount of Honkai energy needed to form a core. Hershers are capable of bending the physical laws and represent the greatest threat imposed by the Honkai. If left unchecked, a Hersher has the power to wipe out human civilization. Hello beautiful people, today we are talking about the biggest threat a civilization could face. Hershers. If you're interested in learning more about the Honkai, after you finish this video you can go watch the previous parts of this series dedicated to explaining everything we know about the Honkai. The first part covers the origins of Honkai and the imaginary tree, the second one covers everything we know about the Wheel of Honkai, and this is the third part, about the Hershers. Links are down in the description. Anyhow, let's get back to the main topic. Hershers. Who are they? How do they appear? What's their purpose? And most importantly, why is your wallet empty every time a new one appears?
Oh, that's so funny, the gacha aspect of the games.
I'm okay with
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
That's okay.
To better understand what they are and how their power works, it's necessary to go back to the word's roots. Herrscher is the German word for ruler, sovereign or monarch. Herrscher of the Void. Harsher of Thunder, Harsher of Reason. Their names
they're
are
kind
meant
of
to
like
represent
demigods
that they are
of,
absolute rulers over their respective ability,
Yeah,
or
that makes
whatever
sense.
concept is tied to their core. As far as we know, Hershers can form in multiple ways. Usually, a Hersher awakens when a host is exposed to a large amount of Honkai energy and a Hersher core solidifies inside their bodies. The best example of this is Sirin, who awakened as a Hersher after she absorbed the Honkai energy.
I didn't
from the
realize she
Honkai
was a
reactors
Siri.
inside
I didn't
the
realize she
Babylon
was a
Tower.
Herschel
She
in
did
this.
not become a
Interesting.
Hersher because Ado experimented on her. This is false and a misconception I see a lot. Ado's purpose was to create artificial stigmata for the Valkyries, not to create Hershers. Sirin became a Hersher because of her high Honkai adaptability and because the Wheel of Honkai guided her to absorb the Honkai energy from the Honkai reactors inside the tower. The experiment she has gone through.
That is fascinating, actually. Okay, so a curious fact: in one of the Akron trailers, the Hersher appears in the same order in which they appeared in Honkai Impact, because Akron is a Raiden Mei variant of Honkai Impact. Really? Akron is? I thought Wu Mei was that character, not Raiden, not Akron. Interesting. And his ward had a fate similar to that of Earth, only it went wrong. Interesting. Okay. That's why Akron was so popular when she came out. That makes sense. All right.
Have nothing to do with her being a Hersher. This.
With me not knowing Akron's backstory in Impact the Third, I actually did not see what the hype about Akron was. She's a okay character and she's powerful and everything, but I did not see what everyone was so like happy about her or like excited. I didn't see it.
Besides the fact that they cemented a deep hatred towards humankind inside her that fueled her desire for revenge.
This is why I switched to weight loss by hymns. Weight loss by him.
You have a anime girl about to destroy the world, and then the weight loss truck comes on. I feel like this is sexist.
Offers access to a variety of options.
Another way is by artificially implanting a Hersher core through surgery or other means. Examples of these are.
Alright, in fact, Akron tells you in the main mission that her name is Raiden Plus. I do remember that, actually. Interesting, I didn't realize that. So forget what I said about Rune Mei and her being, like, together in, like, the very beginning of this video. He's rightfully telling me that it's actually Akron is the alternate reality person of this person, so... Okay, you've convinced me of that, for sure.
Mei and Wendy. It is important to note that a Hersher core cannot be implanted randomly in anybody. Much like natural Hershers, the vessel in which the Hersher core is implanted needs to have high Honkai adaptability. Otherwise, the vast amount of energy will infect and kill its host. This leads me to another misconception I often hear, and that is the fact that a gem is an inferior version of a Hersher core. That is a false perception that is so deeply ingrained in the collective mentality of the Honkai community that even the Honkai Impact 3rd wiki page shows this information wrong. Then again, they show a lot of informations wrong. So let me end all the debates and finally give you a clear answer. What's the difference between a gem and a Hersher core? Well, in simple terms, absolutely nothing. Yeah, you heard me right, there's absolutely no difference between a core and a gem. Actually, there are a few differences, but they are not what you might be thinking of.
Why tomato? Why do today what you can do tomorrow? I second that.
As we all know, a Herrscher core is the source of power for a Herrscher, and it's named after the power that the respective Herrscher controls. They also serve as faucets that draw out Honkai energy from the imaginary space. Herrscher gems, on the other hand, are exactly the same, but they were directly given to Sirin by the Wheel of Honkai during the second eruption. There is no hint in any Honkai Impact Earth related material, external or not, that gems would be an inferior versions of the cores. This misconception might have emerged because some characters that had gems implanted in them, such as Wendy and pre-Chapter 17 Mei, seemed weaker than the other Herrschers that had proper cores. But that is not because they had a gem, it's because they did not have fully mastered their powers yet. When Mei reawakens as the Herrscher of Thunder, Kevin tells her that the Gem of Conquest inside Kiana will dissolve and reform as a core inside Mei.
So we'll have to do a Kevin lore drop because Kevin was alive 50,000 years ago before the events of Honkai Impact the Third, and apparently Kevin is still around in some kind of memory form, or maybe he's around, actually around. But it seems like Kevin's been around for a while, so...
Hey, this happens because a vessel forms a link with the imaginary tree when they become a Herrscher. So, Mei was connected to the imaginary tree through the Gem of Conquest, regardless if she had the gem in her possession or not. The gem reforming as a core inside Mei further shows that there is no inherent difference between the two. It's called a core now because it reappeared inside Mei's body, not because it became stronger. Another example would be Kiana herself. She doesn't have the core of fire. She got her powers from the Gem of Haste, and as we all can see, the Gem of Haste did not evolve into a core at any point. It's still the Gem of Haste, and Kiana is not weaker because of that. So, a quick recap. There is no inherent difference between a Herrscher core and the 4 gems given to Sirin by the Wheel of Honkai. The 4 gems were actually named by the Honkai itself. That's why they are called gems. This does not imply that they are weaker than regular cores. Now, have you ever wished that you could become a Herrscher? Well, seek no more. Right now you can become the Herrscher of Subscribe. All you have to do is give...
I knew he was gonna say that. I knew he was gonna say that.
It takes a really long time and effort to make this.
Good job. You do a good job, Holy Lab. To complete what Honkai is, I sent you the video of what finality. We'll have to watch it next time because I need to use the restroom and I'm holding in for this video.
Videos, and I would greatly appreciate if you'd consider subscribing. So, don't waste any time. Become the Herrscher of Subscribe right now. An interesting aspect of the current...
You know what? Let me go use the restroom and it's going to be a few minutes. And if you want to watch, think it's more recent with more information. Okay, we can watch it if you would like before we stop the stream. I have a doctor's appointment today, so I can't do Genshin till I come back. So we'll do your one more video after this, and then we'll call it on this stream. But right now, let me use the restroom if that's going to be the case. Probably 3-4 minutes. Okay. Give me a second. Getting my headphones back, and we shall continue.
Era Herrscher cores is the fact that unlike their previous era counterparts, they are considered to be alive. We learn in chapter 26 that the current era Herrscher cores can change their properties even after they are removed from the body of a Herrscher. This implies that the core can be passed to another vessel after a Herrscher is killed or the core is removed. In the previous era, such a thing was impossible due to the nature of the singularity formed inside the core. Note that singularity is a fancy term that describes the actual point in a Herrscher core that draws out the Honkai energy from the imaginary space. Dr. May created the divine keys with the previous era Herrscher cores because they couldn't be passed to another person like in the current era, so that was the best way she could put them to
Sounds
use.
good, Tomato.
That is why in chapter 26, the last core of domination went missing between dimensions searching for a new vessel. To lure it out, Otto created a Solium clone of himself in which he implanted his memories from 1491 right after.
So Otto is the guy with the coffin, and I was right every time I pointed him out that he was the coffin guy. He's Otto in Star Rail 2, and I think he is the same Otto because I think he might be a different Otto, but I think he's the same Otto as far as when I say different, I don't mean essence. I mean just, different life or whatever. He might be the same Otto. I don't know. He has a very, swag about him. We didn't learn that much about him other than he's the one that planted the Stellon on the Wafu. Yes, same. Okay, I assume so. And I was saying that from the beginning. So just like Welt, he found a way into the Star Rail Leaf. Alright, here we go. I have a doctor's appointment today, Ryan. I'm not planning on coming over. That's why people saw him. They distrusted him. Yeah, that makes so much sense. I do not know if I'll be there Saturday. I wasn't planning on it. Let's see. Yeah, the toy con doesn't sound fun to me, Ryan. Let's see. What was I saying? That's when people saw him, they distrusted him. Yeah, it's just like Otto also was the one that put the star on, and because Otto is in Star Rail, now we can see that the Honkai might actually attack Star Rail's universe sometime. It's just Honkai Star Rail is being very parallel with Honkai the Third. I would not be surprised if after all the paths are explored by the Trailblazer that the Honkai start attacking the universe. We will see, but I fully intend that these games will come together. There's no way. There's two confirmed characters at least from Honkai the Third that are doing things in Star Rail. Otto planted the Stellon and on the Wafu and did the Stellon Crisis, and then Welt is there too. So
he won the Shixo Civil War and he was at his
in fact, when he gets on the train as a guest, yeah, there's a line that says that Welt has him under surveillance and gave him a book that I think said, "Not everyone is born evil," or something like that. Yeah, I remember that. You're right. I think said, "Not everyone is born evil," or something like that. It's telling Otto not to do things, but I think because of Otto, the Honkai is going to enter our leaf of existence. Otto's going to be a big part, huge part. Yeah, they were, for sure. They were taught by the same people, right? Einstein and stuff. I think Einstein and Tesla was well, but Einstein had a prevalence with Otto as well. They're like rival students almost. Alright.
Lowest point. Otto used the strange property of the current era Herrscher cores to bait the last core of domination into a host it could not refuse. In the process of becoming a Herrscher, the host will be opposed by what is called a Herrscher persona, a consciousness that seems to be a split personality or some kind of new personality based on the vessel that is part of the core and tries to take over the body of the vessel.
Ryan, we're not playing a game right now. We're watching a video on the lore of the game. So this is Honkai Impact the Third. It is it's just like Honkai Star Rail, but it's a parallel universe to Honkai Star Rail on the same imaginary tree. And we're learning we are learning the lore of it so we can better understand the games that we are playing. You are in the lore gacha. Yep, we are in the lore gacha for sure.
So, the conditions in which a Herrscher persona.
And another curious thing, the robot in the great room of the train was repaired by... Oh, are we talking about the robot in the bar? Okay, cool. The robot... Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me. I'm drinking an energy drink and bubbled out. Okay, robot in the great room of the train was repaired by Void Archives. Yes, I did remember seeing that, and I know Void Archives came to this ward with Welt, like, they were together. Himiko mentions Void Archives briefly, not by name, but by the passenger with Welt that left rather quickly. The one that came with Welt, Star Rally, and Otto's voice only a little robotic. Makes sense. And even he jokes that we don't know who the person is, even though we know who the person is. Like, he's been joking through all the videos that we didn't know that this person was Void Archives.
Forms can be different from Herrschers to Herrschers. Take Sirin for example. We know that she was guided by the will of the Honkai to awaken as a Herrscher, but we never saw any Herrscher persona within her. There is also the Herrscher of Sentience. When the Herrscher persona first awakened inside Fuhua's body, it was so overwhelmed by her memories that it failed to realize its own identity as a Herrscher. Fuhua's influence was so big that even after realizing, she still chose to fight against the influence of the Honkai.
This RPG game is crazy. In this game, you'll never know what's ahead of you.
In most cases, the human host will lose control eventually. We see this with Mei and...
Alright, and Void Archive is, yeah, the ads are stupid, Ryan. Like, that RPG game, no one's ever gonna play it, but it has more ads than anything. It is AKA garbage, for sure. Void Archive is a divine key from the previous era to which Otto gave his body, that why Void Archives looks the same as Otto, and they have the same voice. Interesting. Okay.
Anna both fought hard to suppress their Herrscher personas. As Mei noted in chapter 18, the fact that Anna was fighting the Herrscher persona put her in a vegetative state and made her powers weaker. Mei didn't master her own Herrscher powers until the Herrscher persona inside her stopped resisting and left her in control of the core. This implies that the actual reason why we see some Herrschers being weaker than others is that the vessel...
Ryan, Sonic Generations is a pathetic game, even for Sonic fans like me. I'm happy to finish it with you, so I'm not saying I won't. But the thing about it is Honkai Generations. Honkai Generations would be a great game. Sonic Generation is really bad, even for Sonic fans, Ryan. It is actually, it may be popular with the general public, but Sonic fans do not consider it a good game. And they haven't. Alright. Back to the video.
fights for control over the body and powers with the Herrscher persona. We see the same with Kiana and HOV. It was never that Kiana couldn't master the powers of the void, it was because of the resistance put up by the other persona inside her that she could never tap into the full power of the core. Due to the records left by the previous era, we know that there are 14 Herrschers within the Honkai Impact 3rd universe. The current era seems to follow the same pattern as the previous era, with slight changes in the order they appear. That is not to be said that there can be more Herrschers, but at least the Honkai Impact 3rd universe seem to follow a fixed pattern. The current era Herrschers have the same abilities as their previous era counterparts, with some alterations to make them more suited for the new environment. As more and more Herrschers are born, these alterations grow bigger. Take the Herrscher of Domination from the current era. It manifested itself very differently from its previous era counterpart, and it even had some abilities that the previous era Herrscher of Dominance did not have. One of those abilities was to steal Herrscher powers from other Herrschers. It got this ability as it adapted to the current era, where many Herrschers fight for humanity. In the previous era, there was no such thing, so this kind of ability was useless.
That's interesting.
In the current era, there are still some Herrschers that have not appeared yet. Among them is the Herrscher of Death. Even though Kiana has the Gem of Serenity,
the Herrscher of Death, this confirms it. The Titans and the demigods are based on Herrschers. I 100% believe this now. We have the Herrscher of Reason and the Herrscher of Death. Now, not everything's going to be exactly the same. Like, there's no Titan of Void. There was no Titan of blah blah blah, or demigod of blah blah blah. But they are. It's even with the few like Reason and Death. It's clear that they based the Titans / demigods on the Herrschers because everything about Amphorius is Honkai Impact the 3rd. So I 100% believe that now.
Has limited mastery over it, and even if Cele has the Herrscher of Death stigmata, she has not awakened as a Herrscher yet.
I'm beginning to think I have. I'm beginning to think I have to play this game.
And no, Ado.
I'm starting to think I have to play this game. I wish they didn't have that graphic though. That graphic was terrible. Awful. All right. But I think I might have to play this game.
Is not the Herrscher of Binding. From my understanding of Chapter 28, the Wheel of Honkai only granted him authority over the power of binding, but as Teresa mentioned, no actual core has appeared. The Herrscher of Corruption, and no, Sakura does not count. The only Herrscher that we know nothing about and whose identity is still unknown is the 3rd team. Wait, what are you doing here?
That's the Herschel that died, right? That's the Herschel that Cyrene is, or I don't know if she's a Herschel, but that's the character that Cyrene is based on, right? You know what you want. The game is most recent versions look graphically very good. I'm sure they improved the graphics. They would have to. The graphics are not what's holding me back. It's that I only have limited time in my life, right? And right now I'm playing 3 Holyverse games. And of course, Star Rail, I don't have to put as much time in anymore now that we caught up. But the other 2 games I've not caught up on, right? And I'm putting in a lot of the time. Maybe today I will jump into Honkai the 3rd and just take a gander at it. And we will see. I'm sure I could be the biggest Honkai expert if I played Honkai the 3rd. The way I can predict the future on like things that happen in games based on limited knowledge. I bet I could give Holio Labs a run for its money, but I don't know. I don't know if I want to invest the time. We'll see. But I know this character is tragic. In Honkai the Third, she dies just like Kimiko does, and Cyrene is based on her. That's why they think that she might die in Star Rail, which I do not think that she will die in Star Rail. And let me tell you why. Star Rail seems to be the happier version of Honkai Impact the Third. Every death in Star Rail does not stick so far, and the deaths that we've heard about have not been to like main characters, and they've only been like summarized deaths, right? Even Tingyun, who should have died, I'm not saying should have died as far as like better story, but she came back to life and in a different form. Star Rail seems to be the happier version of Honkai Impact the Third. That's what I'm saying right now. I remember you still need to know what the Sea of Quanta is. I remember that you still need to know what the Sea of Quanta is. There are so many things. Yeah, so I did learn a little bit about the Sea of Quanta. It was actually in one of these videos. I did learn a little bit about it. Now, could I learn more about it? For sure. But I understand the basic idea of the Sea of Quanta right now. All right.
Hey,
you're not supposed to be here. Oh man, she sure loves showing off. Almost like she's the usher of love or something.
Is she the usher of love? Is that what she is? That's so Cyrene.
And lastly, the final Hersher, the destroyer of worlds. The one that caused the doom of the previous era, and probably the last and biggest threat our characters must face. I will point this out.
You know what? If the eons of Star Rail universe were... Let's kind of think about this real quick, right? What if the eons of the Star Rail universe, the only things that could actually kill them other than other eons were actually the Honkai in the first place, and we just don't know about the Honkai threat right now, and that's why so many eons are missing or presumed dead right now, and that Arcavelli is alive and he turned into Terminus in order to fight the Honkai. That would make so much sense. And we just, in the Star Rail universe, we just don't realize what's going on because the Eons are dealing with it right now. And the Eons are also fighting amongst themselves, too. So that is, it's a potential for the Honkai to bleed into the Star Rail universe. Also, Star Rail has advanced technology, more advanced technology than almost any place in any of the games, even Honkai Impact the Third. I would assume the only reason we haven't seen the Honkai in full like material yet in Star Rail is because of the Eons are stopping them, just like the Titans are stopping the what you call it, the wave or whatever, the tide. All right, the Eons are doing the same thing. Kripoth is creating a wall to stop something, but it's not known what. And I have a theory that it's the Honkai. That could really be correct. I think you might be right about that. But right now, I think the Eons are aware of it. And the Eons are fighting, especially Arcavelli. I think Arcavelli is in the forefront of this fight. Kripoth, okay. Kripoth is also the Eon of Preservation. Kripoth is the Eon of Preservation for sure, and he is making a wall. I do know about Kripoth because Preservation seemed to be like the good guy Eon in all of Star Rail, especially when you get to the end of Bellabog and Preservation chooses the Trailblazer to, help win the fight. I always had a good, and also March starts out as Preservation. I've always had a good view of Kripoth from the very beginning of the game. And Arcavelli's the ultimate good guy, and Kripoth might well be his right-hand man, as far as I'm concerned. The guy of the Hunt seems to be a very good guy. especially the way the bad guys talk about him. So the hunt is still active and around, and I assume the hunt is helping as well. I think those three eons are in cahoots with one another, and that's why we haven't seen them around very often. I think they're all working to stop the Honkai. Yep. So I think you might be right. All right. Back to the video.
Out, since many people commented on my previous videos. Yes, I know, she was never referred to as the Herrscher of the End in official materials. She was always referred to as the final Herrscher. Her name implies that there were no other Herrschers after her, since she managed to destroy human civilization. Herrschers are some of the most important beings in the Honkai-verse. Every time one...
And I have a theory, because Walt says that where they are, the Honkai energy is very small. Yes, and again, I do think that it's due to Arcavelli turning into Terminus. Remember, Arcavelli's disappearance, the only person in game that tells us that Arcavelli is dead is Himiko. And I don't know if I believe Himiko on this, because everyone else says, everyone else ever says Arcavelli has disappeared, that there was an accident. Now, Arcavelli probably turned into Terminus, the Eon of Finality, in order to stop the Honkai. That's why I would assume. Quidpoth is also in that loop, and so is the Eon of the Hunt. So I think all three of them are in that loop. Whether there's more eons in that loop, I don't know. I mean, you could make a case for the erudition being oblivious as it is right now to the destruction's attempt to destroy it and everything. You could say that the reason why erudition is, or Nusta erudition is so oblivious, is because it's focusing on the Honkai as well. So you could say all four of them, if you wanted to really have a conspiracy theory, is paying attention to the Honkai threat, and destruction is trying to take advantage by wiping them out. All right.
Years, the community is hype and celebrates because people know that they will bring great changes for both the story and the meta.
A red memory keeper. Oh, that is interesting. That is interesting, because that actually links Star Rail to memory keepers. As far as I know, only exist in the Star Rail Leaf or parallel universe, right? So you could say that they are intentionally linking the games now. If a memory keeper, and you said memory keeper, not snatcher, right? Well, memory keepers and memory snatchers are from the Star Rail universe, so that also is interesting. That would mean that remembrance would be part of these eons stopping the Honkai, and the Garden of Recollection is aware of the Honkai existence, and they are actively gathering memories to help in the fight. That's why I would assume. Memory snatchers hoard memories in order to recreate the universe when the universe goes bad or gets destroyed, so they wouldn't defend the universe. Memory keepers, on the other hand, preserve memories in order to stop annihilations and destructions. So that's the difference between the two groups. And so if it's a memory keeper, they are trying to get information of the Honkai to stop the Honkai. 100%. We saw this video. This replay video of everything. Let's take a look at the video you sent me real quick. Finality Explained.
So hey guys, I'm here to show you Apex's...
It's really funny that you said finality, because
Alright, ladies.
It's really funny that you put in finality when I was talking about finality. It is finality explained. This is also Akron is the emanator of finality, and I think Welt and Welt is finality too. I think that's his thing. Even though he's emulator level, he's in Herschel. So, but he would be an emulator type of power. And Akron is finality, and then you have, I think Kafka is finality too, right? Or Delninality, whatever it is. After the version of Honkai Impact, a cousin of Don Han appears and gave the power of the Eon of Preeminence to a character from Part 2 and became a dragon. After a version of Honkai Impact, a cousin of Don Han appears and gives the power of the Eon of Remember. Eon of Permanence, not remembrance. So that links the two universes already, is because they're now sharing powers of eons. So, wow, that's huge. That's huge. Okay. All right, this is our last video of the day for this topic. We will be having other streams today. We are playing Genshin. If I feel up to it, we will play ZZ tonight, but Genshin is going to be the main selling point. But that's after my doctor's appointment, so that's going to be like mid-afternoon. All right.
Years, Honkai was a concept we knew almost nothing about. But that is the case no more. With the dawn of the latest story arc, the true nature behind this previously unexplained phenomenon was revealed. After 6 years barely scratching the surface of this concept, chapters 33 and 34 finally gave us permanent brain damage. But also,
I'm not gonna lie, the characters that they showed right here looks like the Traveler from Genshin, and I'm sure that is on purpose. Like, she literally has the same hairstyle as the female Traveler from Genshin. Literally the same hairstyle.
Or finally gave us permanent brain damage, but also some much needed answers. The only thing I urge you to keep in mind is that the concept of Honkai is still hard to grasp, and it requires some personal interpretation to present it in a cohesive video format. As even more information could be revealed in the future, some things may change or prove to be outright false. In my opinion, Honkai is not something that can have a universally true explanation. It's an alien concept to humanity that our minds weren't made to fully comprehend. It's like explaining physics to a dog. So, by saying that Honkai is that or that Honkai is this, it's like taking one layer of an onion and saying, look, this is an onion, when in fact it's not, it's just one layer of the onion. The true onion are all the layers on top of it.
Alright, let's talk about this real quick. When the Memory Keeper went to Kiana, she said that the leaf of the tree was separated by some force that prevented even the gaze of the eons from reaching here. And only she realized the existence of this place because of the energy emanating from Kiana. Okay, interesting. So the gaze of the eons. Well, we know the eons are not the most powerful beings in the universe, only the Star Rail universe. But that the gaze could penetrate even other leaves is actually something that is so freaky. The eons are more powerful than I thought at this moment if the gaze could penetrate other leaves. But yeah.
Other, but because each character sees a different layer of the onion, they also use different analogies when talking about it.
I think ultimately the eons are weaker than the Honkai, but I think they are more of a match for the power that the Honkai can bring out at this time. I think the eons are beings that have gone beyond the Honkai's control, and singular beings, they could take out armies of the Honkai, but ultimately the Honkai will prove to be stronger if they are fully unleashed. That's the way I think of it right now. All right.
about it. So what I want to do is go through each layer of the Honkai onion.
But I'm not gonna lie, if Herschels are the strongest form that the Honkais can take, Eons are so much more powerful than Herschels. Herschels could be considered emanators in the Star Whale universe. Welt is a match for Akron, and Akron is a match for Welt, but story-wise, not gameplay-wise, but story-wise. I think Welt would ultimately lose against Akron, but again, Welt has lost countless times before, and he always manages to win by his mind. He is extremely powerful too. The reason why Welt loses is the same reason Kakashi loses in Naruto. It's because he's always pinned up against the strongest characters of the game. That's the only reason Welt loses a lot of fights, is because he only takes on the strongest characters. Welt is among the strongest characters, and even Akron had to take a step back. And at first, before she knew Welt, she was weary of Welt because she could sense the power that he had in him. The thing about it is, if the Herschels are the strongest that the Honkai can bring out, as we know right now, they do not compare to the Eons. But I do think the Honkai ultimately have stronger forms if they allowed themselves to fully come out. That's my opinion. For now, as far as we know, the Eons are the most powerful. Eons are the most powerful. Some say that Kiana is more powerful because she is the finality, but I think that saying a lot for now, because she still doesn't control her powers. That's true, but also Arcavelli, being Terminus, is also the Eon of nidality or finality. I mean, Terminus would be the Eon of it, right? So something like that. I'm not sure if it's finality or I'm not sure if it's ninality. It might be with an N on Terminus. I don't remember. If it's an N, then it's different, but still.
And explain it separately. Honkai is an unknown force that rises with the advancements of human civilization. This is the oldest and most simple definition that, well...
That's true, but that's why Genshin, Honkai is not active, because Genshin does not have the technology. As far as I know, in the early game, it's very untechnological. However, Star Whale, the Eons have to be holding back the Honkai, because in Star Whale is the most advanced out of the 4 games that we've seen. 100%. Spaceships, I mean, they even have planet-sized spaceships like the Luofu. Yeah. So, I think the Memory Keeper said they emanate energy similar to an emanator, but at that moment, she only had about 10% of her power, and top of that, she was in a coma. Yeah, well, I have no doubt that, Kiana Kazlana may be the most powerful character in the whole game series, because she was one of the first characters, right? Her game series is what, and she might be only the main character for Impact the Third, but she also represents the main character of the original game series that started this whole thing. I would not be surprised 100% that she is the strongest character ever known in the Honkai universe. However, not at this moment. Like you said, she cannot control her powers. I would not be surprised that the Eons are holding the Honkai back because of how powerful the Eons are themselves. And that the Eons even have the potential to gaze into other leaves on this imaginary tree is just something else, all right? They can gaze into parallel universes. Eons are something that the Honkai never expected and has stopped the Honkai from coming into the Star Whale universe. Like, the presence of Eons by themselves have done this. Now, the Honkai are going to adapt, okay? I can tell you this now. The Honkai are going to adapt, and it will become a threat in Star Rail. But as of right now, there is, we know Kriplot, the Preservation Eon, is building a wall to keep something out. We both agree that it's probably Honkai. We know that for some unknown reason, Arcavelli probably turned into Terminus. Changed forms in order to stop something. The Honkai is that something, alright? We know that Nusta Erudition doesn't even care about its own life at this point and is allowing Lygosis or Xandar and the destruction to kill it because it is concentrating on something else that is more important than even its own self at this moment. And again, that's probably the Honkai. And then we know the hunt that the Lafu worship because the abundance was such a crappy deity, right? The hunt has been missing along the galaxy, not presumed dead, but left on a journey. Guess what? To fight and stave off the Honkai, just like Strife did with the Tide, alright? Like, the hunt is literally, we know the hunt is alive. Like, it is confirmed active, but no one has seen it for a while. And that's because it's fighting off the Honkai. Every good Eon in the game, or human-friendly Eon in the game, is preoccupied by something which is allowing destruction to, you know, throw around Stellarons and, like, be unabated in, like, the goals. Is because the good Eons of humanity is preoccupied with something that is worse than the destruction. And the destruction's going around like, I just want to kill Eons or whatever. And no one's bothering to pay the destruction any attention. That's what I see going on right now. Other than Elio, who is probably employed by Terminus to handle the destruction while they are preoccupied. So Elio is taking orders from Terminus. I'm 100% sure. He is an emanator of Terminus because the ability to see scripts in the future. The Stellaron Hunters and the Astro Express, Arcavelli, and Terminus group, which are combined because Terminus and Arcavelli is one Eon. And they are combined, and their main mission is to take out destruction while the Eons work on the Honkai. That is my 100% belief at this point. Alright, is the best, Kiana is the protagonist, okay. Let's read what you said. I got into my monologue and I did not, I stopped reading. Okay, I think the memory keeper said they emanate, okay, Coma. Kiana is the protagonist of 4 Holyverse games, and you could say that he is the first character they made. Kiana is a woman in Honkai Impact the Third, right? It's not Kevin, it's Kiana. Or are they the same person? I'm not sure. The best gotcha protagonist. It's strange about the technology because in Star Rail it's more advanced, but in Honkai Impact, Otto managed to modify the imaginary tree as someone came and modified the universe. Even in ZZ, like Ether, it reminds me a lot of how the Honkai works. That's why I played it, because it reminds me of Honkai Impact. Kevin is the male variant of Kiana. Okay. Yes. But in the game, you don't have a choice between male and female, right? Kiana is 100% the character you play, right? It was only in Genshin for the first time that you could choose between the female and male, right? Oh, you do have a choice. Okay, I was not aware of that. Okay. There you go. You have a choice. So you could play as Kevin or Kiana in Honkai Impact the Third. I guess we'll find that out later today, because I'm almost sure I'm going to try it out. All right. We're probably going to play as Kiana. I'm not going to lie. I've seen nothing but cinematics of Kiana so far, And why ruin a good thing now? I've chosen the Gura in all the other Holyverse games, so why not choose the Gura here too?
To be kinda wrong. Welt confirms in chapter 34 that this was more of a assumption and that in reality all the flow of Honkai energy is controlled by the cocoon of finality, this giant meatball from the moon. Yes, there might be small correlations between humanity's technological advancements and how active the cocoon of finality is, but that's a much more complex situation. It's better to say that Honkai rises when it thinks that humanity is ready for its embrace and a more advanced civilization is more prepared. Selene failed in the previous era because no matter how much Honkai energy it converted, the cocoon would just bring out more. There wasn't just a set amount of Honkai energy present, depending on how advanced they were. Oh, and did I mention that humanity is also trapped in a freaking 50,000 years old samsara by the finality? So how advanced we are doesn't matter anyways, because after 50,000 years everything resets. But let's go into more details about this in the next section.
That's yeah, we learned that Honkai is the test from his earlier videos. But Kevin's, okay, so imagine the previous era of Kevin was born, but in the content era, Kiana was born. But Kevin survived the previous era, and that's why there was a Kevin and Kiana at the same time. So they're the same person in essence, whether they're a girl or a boy, because different time periods, they have a 50% chance of being a boy or a girl, okay? So I get that, and Kevin survived the other period, so there's two of the same person, even though they're different variants of each other. There's two of the same person walking around. I gotcha. And it was, Kevin survived, his era. Okay.
Perspective was offered by Atto in chapter 17. By this point, we started to explore more into the cosmology of the Honkai universe, tackling concepts such
We'll just say the boy and girl versions of every single character in the Holyverse is in reality the same character, okay? The boy and girl traveler, they are they're twins, but they are literally the same person. That actually makes a lot of sense. Kevin and Kiana, same person. The Trailblazer, female and male, so Stella and Caltheus, which actually makes a lot of sense that they're the same person, because Kafka chose the receptacle, so in one version she chose the guy, in another version she chose the girl. Makes perfect sense that they are exactly the same person. ZZ is actually going to be the hardest one to make the case for, because Weiss and Bell are brother and sister, which makes them connected, but they are not twins. They are not like different versions of each other. They are different people. So that would be the hardest thing that you could point to say that they are the same person. You would have to make a link between Weiss and Bell. They don't even look the same. So I just that would be the only thing that falls apart in that theory. Yeah, and it doesn't mean it's not true. It just means that it's really hard to link Bell and Weiss together.
Such as the Sea of Quanta and the Imaginary Tree. So we kinda knew that Honkai must be related to those concepts. Atto calls Honkai a corrective system in the Imaginary Tree that breeds, nurtures, tests, and removes civilizations. Now that we have some context, I can say that he wasn't really wrong. We know that Honkai does indeed come from the Imaginary Tree, and what it does can be indeed interpreted as a test. My qualms with this are the fact that Atto calls it a system in the Imaginary Tree, which is not quite true in my opinion. Rather than a universal system, Honkai is more so the influence of a higher being from the Imaginary Tree that we refer to as the finality. Sure, you can argue that it's just semantics, but I wanted to point this out. In Atto's interpretation, I believe that the word test refers to the evolution of human civilization. Kevin mentioned at some point that finality wants to
That's super funny because we have seen basically Finon's form where Finon looked like an angel and he looks like a demon. It's literally the exact opposite. Good job, Holyverse.
Embrace humanity. It's important to note that in this context, embrace refers to the fact that finality wants to.
I like how Bronya is just kind of like floating here. Kiana's, you know, looking with disgust for some reason. And then we have probably Ciri right here. She's probably all powered up too. So.
To force humanity to evolve. Tesla said in chapter 34 that each Herrscher is like an
Why is Tesla and Einstein cute anime girls all of a sudden? I don't understand. Yeah, they're both cute anime girls instead of a man with, like, two men with mustaches, like they were in real life.
Race from its power, and that finality has the authority of time because it functions on a trial and error basis.
Finality has the time. That's just like Terminus and the lineality of Starwell. That's Terminus's power is time as well, and script writing and all that stuff like Elio. This links both games right here. Pretty big league right here.
If the embrace fails.
Oh, that is such a cool thing. Okay, so Kevin uses ice and Finon uses fire on purpose. That is such a cool thing. Also, Finon does have fire because we saw it in the anime, but he calls like meteors down versus just having fire. But yes, I get what you're saying. His golden blood flames up all the time, and it looks like he has fire, but every time I see Finon, he's casting down meteors versus actually like throwing flames. But yeah, that's a cool difference.
To force humanity's evolution, it resets everything and tries again. Now, if that's the case, the new question.
Based on what happened with Kevin, I think you know what's going to happen with Finon in the next version. I'll just say that there is some things coming. So I don't know what happens to Kevin at all. I just know that Finon is based on Kevin because of the name Kazlana and the link that they had. I don't know anything about Kevin's future. I don't know anything about Finon's future. So I don't. All right.
Question is why? Dr. May calls it a civilization that became one will.
See, Dr. May here looks like Rune May from Star Rail as far as like they're both doctors and stuff. It's just but she has the hair of Akron, so I can see that too.
Implying that finality is just a higher form of civilization that.
But you're right about Akron 100%, because I remember watching a reaction video to Akron ferrying the dead souls, and when she said her name, the streamer was like, "Oh my goodness! Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh, I can't believe it!" And I was all like, I have no idea why they're freaking out of the name called, but now I know. As of today, I know. Although Kevin does have a weapon that uses fire, but it's not hot. That only because Kevin is made of ice can he use it. Okay, that makes sense. Another curiosity is that Kevin has the ability to freeze and stop time. Interesting. Finon has not been shown to do any of that, but he has been able to rip through Amphorius where Nanook was watching and was able to split open Amphorius and like go through it. So he found a crack. I don't know if he actually made the crack, but he found the crack.
Seeks out less advanced civilizations on the imaginary tree that have the potential to evolve and become part of it. It's like us taking some literal monk.
I feel like Finon made the crack though, because Finon broke the ward by going through so many time things and having the core flames. I think Finon made the crack eventually, but Luffy, he's with a bunch of monkeys. Too bad Ryan's not here. He would have gone crazy for this imagery.
Monkeys and force them to evolve into humans, but on a cosmic scale. So, in my opinion, this is the test that Ado was talking.
And I think in the battle he throws black holes at you and is virtually immortal. Interesting.
About. We pass when we can find a way to evolve and become a part of finality. The only thing that seems to have changed from Ado's explanation is that if we fail, we know now that the samsara is reset. We do not fall into the Sea of Quanta like it was previously stated, but from chapter 32, we learn that finality's powers can in fact create multiple bubble universes from the impact it has on the world when it resets the samsara.
These were too weirdly shaped or odd to make the cut in a regular pack of bacon, but
this is the concept of Honkai looked at through the lenses of philosophy and is closely tied to Plato's theory of forms. Prometheus says that reality binds fiction. In this context, fiction means anything imaginary that is not constrained by the limitations of our reality. Imaginary space is a space where concepts and ideas exist freely without being bound by any laws. In short, they can simply exist as Platonic ideals. Honkai is essentially the entire concept of fiction existing in a way that is virtually incomprehensible to humanity. Herschers rule over some concepts like reason, void, domination, or death. These concepts are all narratives that humanity itself has come up with, and they have a meaning that most people will understand. Herschers are the rulers of said concepts, and they hate being bound by reality and its laws. In a sense, you can say that Honkai is using humanity's concepts and ideas against them. The reason why Honkai tries to destroy humanity is precisely because of this exact opposing nature of our existence. Humanity represents a shared story of many, while Honkai likes to be the protagonist. While in the imagination of a writer, the story can be anything and it's free to develop into endless possibilities. But the moment the writer uses its pen to transcribe the story from his imagination to reality, that's when fiction gets trapped in a cage. How many times have you seen people write fanfiction or do fan art of some moments?
That's actually a very good point. I was thinking the same thing right before he said that. I am a fan fiction writer as well. And once you put pen to paper, all the possibilities that was in your mind become one form and operate in that one way instead of being what it could be. Before I sit down and write a story, I think of about 30 or 60 different ways the story could go or the story could be. And once I start writing that, the story becomes one path, right? I do need to use the restroom one more time. I will be right back.
In a story that they
am back. And I have a video with Genshin Theory with a character from Honkai Impact, but you're at the very beginning and you wouldn't understand it. Okay, well, the nice thing about you, I think you're subscribed to my YouTube, so the nice thing about you being subscribed to my YouTube is eventually I will get to that point and you can send me the video. So...
wanted to see but never got the chance. Our need for making fanfiction stems from a collective desire to take control over a narrative and free it from the author. That is the exact same reason why the imaginary wages war against reality, and that's why the previous era Herschers had such a strong hatred towards humanity. If you want a deeper understanding of this interpretation, I recommend to watch my video about Project Stigma, where I go into more details.
The new factor menu is...
Tengo 4 años y soy paciente.
This explanation is easier to understand because it's more science fiction and less philosophy. But even so, it created a lot of misunderstandings in the community. To explain the concepts behind the Honkai, the characters have to use a lot of analogies, and sometimes, depending on how they use them and how accurate the English localization is, those analogies can do more harm than good. I saw so many people thinking that Honkai is some kind of lonely god that just sits in a dark corner of the universe and is looking for friends. And while this is not really wrong on a conceptual level, people are looking at it through very shallow lenses. We are talking about a higher form of existence that we cannot understand, so we use analogies like embrace, love and lonely to simplify it. These are not meant to be taken literally. Anyway, Dr. May speculates that finality is just a more advanced form of a civilization where the individuals became one with.
Alright, so something curious is that the Raiden Shogun of Genshin is a variant of Raiden Mei. Okay, interesting.
Similar to the spiritual.
That actually brings us back, so I don't know who the Shogun of Genshin is. But now that you say Shogun, if we remember the character trailer of Akron, who Akron is a version 2, right? If we remember Akron, her character trailer, what made me, when she, you know, fights the Sparkle versions of Blade, Kafka, and Silverwolf, she goes into like this thing where she puts on lipstick and stuff, and it was a very Shogun-esque, like, depiction. And I know Shogun very well. I'm a big fan of Apothecary Diaries, and I used to study history in college, so as a major, so I know the Shogun era very well in Chinese history. So the depiction of Akron putting lipstick on and doing those flashbacks while she's fighting the Sparkle versions of the Stellon Hunters is very Shogun-esque, and that makes a lot of sense.
Adam that Project Stigma wants to create. It's a sort of cosmic collective consciousness that is looking to grow.
In fact, I'll show you guys what I'm talking about right now. And then we will go back to the video. So if we go to Akron trailer.
For many years,
and I cannot spell with crap, so Akron trailer Star Rail. Here. So if we look at this trailer,
Good evening,
we're not going to watch the whole trailer, but I'll show you what I'm talking about.
Is here, and guests from all walks of life have arrived. Flag your color.
This right here is very Shogun-ish, especially with the umbrella as well. The Sparkle, and then she creates the Stellon Hunters for some reason.
Illusion or reality? Care to guess?
Either way, Dusk's reign.
Very Shogun-ish right here. Super Shogun.
What did you say? Do your worst.
And right here, this is 100% Shogun, this lipstick right here.
Destined for oblivion. On the still waters.
Even the music is very Shogun-ish right here.
I weep for the departed.
Yeah, so that's all I wanted to show you guys, is that even her trailer is very Shogun-like. You could also watch a bit of the other trailer I told you about. The Herschels appear, and you even see Akron with horns like May, the Mirrored Heavy. We could watch that sometime. I wouldn't be opposed to that. There's a lot of things so I found out there's a bunch of anime trailers of Star Rail, and I've not watched one of the anime trailers. I've watched all the character trailers, obviously, but I found out there's actually like story trailers to all the Star Rail characters, and I haven't even got to those yet. So there is lots of reaction videos we can do on trailers, like the myriad trailers period in Star Rail. I have not watched a single one, but
expand, so it instinctively looks for other forms of civilization that have the potential to become part of it, and tries to force their evolution into imaginary beings like itself that can coexist with it. Project Stigma tries to find some sort of compromise by spreading the embrace of finality evenly to the new humans and making them coexist with finality. This way, humanity won't be completely gone, and its ideas can still continue to exist as forms. Finality doesn't have any ill will, love, or any kind of human emotion. It's more like an instinct. It's a cosmic level entity that we cannot comprehend, so we use simple human analogies to make sense of its behavior. Please don't take them literally. What you should take literally instead is me saying to subscribe to the channel and give this video a thumbs up to get
this guy's really good. I would suggest that anyone watching this subscribe to his channel. Alright. Took me a little while to get to the get used to the accent, but like now that I got used to it, I kind of dig it.
Is if Honkai and finality are the same thing. Short answer:
you can choose to raid the caravan, or you can choose to guard it. This is a game where slaying.
Or I could choose not to play and be like that. That game's a sucker thing. If that ad, I'm predicting it now. That game is a fake. As far as like an actual game, it's probably just the worst, in my opinion. I don't have anything to back this up other than what I saw in the trailer that they keep sending, but it looks awful. Alright.
Not really. Here is my interpretation. Honkai, in its essence, is energy from imaginary space. Let's call it imaginary energy. In its natural state, the energy lies in imaginary space and doesn't do much. But under the influence of a will advanced enough to control it, the energy can be brought in lower dimensions and bent to the will of that higher entity. We have seen even humans have a certain degree of control over imaginary energy. A good example would be Durandal's photo from chapter 34 that shared her memories with Siegfried and Kiana. That photo is an imaginary construct made from Durandal's memories. In my humble opinion, Honkai is imaginary energy under the influence of finality, which is a higher form of existence on the imaginary tree and has a much more advanced control over the imaginary energy. Since finality has no real form, it projected itself in the world of Honkai Impact 3rd in the form of the cocoon of finality, from where it can bring and control the imaginary energy. The imaginary energy under the influence of finality is what we call Honkai. So, finality equals a higher form of existence, Honkai equals energy from imaginary space under finality's control. Again, this is my
By the way, this is the best explanation I've ever seen of Honkai. I mentioned before that I spent a lot of time trying to figure out what the Honkai was just by Googling it and everything, and everyone has a different answer. And they're pretty bad. The only thing I got a consensus of is it's a type of energy. And this guy explained it so well. I feel like I really know what the Honkai are now. And this is the first time that I can say that.
Personal interpretation, I'm sure that chapter 35 will give us more answers.
In a previous video of his, we actually learned a lot about the world of the Honkai.
To talk about for quite some time. In chapter 31EX, we found out that the Wheel of Honkai is actually a version of Prometheus, an AI created by Dr. May to assist in fighting the Honkai. In the last moments of the previous series.
So, I guess I am having a problem with Rune Mei. I know she's Akron and the Shogun. But what about Rune Mei in Star Rail, like the one that's voiced by Momo from Apothecary Diaries? I feel like that's intentional, right? I also feel like, because Apothecary Diaries came out the same year as Star Rail, I feel like she was announced as Momo in Apothecary Diaries, and then she was also given the role as Rune Mei in Star Rail because of that. Is Rune Mei a different version of the same character of Akron in the same universe? Because Rune Mei makes all these creations, just like Doctor version of Rune Mei does here. It's something that I'm seeing there's a crossover to that character as well. And I guess that's the problem I'm having. I totally get Akron, the connection with Akron, but I don't believe that there's not a connection to Rune Mei as well in Herta's Genius Society friend. There's too much that's similar here as well. There's even a video where she appears and takes the position of CEO of the Holyverse, and she even has a skin. Something curious and funny, the CEO of Holyverse is Bronya of Honkai Impact Chronicle. Yeah, that's funny. That is funny. I did think Bronya was a strong character in Star Rail too. I did not think Searly was a strong character, but I do think Bronya is. So in both games, they did her really well.
Prometheus hacked the cocoon of finality and forced it to repeat the same Herrscher cycle in the new era and give Kevin the authority of finality. Note that this implies that even if the Samsara keeps repeating, the Herrschers are not necessarily the same, and this makes sense given the whole trial and error functionality of finality. If the Herrscher of the Void failed in the previous cycle, why send it again? This is also a really nice reference to the myth of Prometheus, who in Greek mythology stole the fire from gods and gave it to humans. But, in my opinion, Prometheus and the Wheel of Honkai are not exactly the same existence. Mobius clearly said in the same chapter that Prometheus will lose its human-like way of thinking and become part of finality. I see the Wheel of Honkai more like an avatar of finality that has been programmed to do certain things by the previous era, and its existence as Prometheus has been completely lost.
Hostiles approaching. Reciprocating hostility.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, so Herschel's.
Oh boy, now here we have some big revelations. In chapter 34, we learn that Herrschers aren't actual Herrschers. Or, to be more exact, they are lesser versions of a true Herrscher.
Oh, interesting. Okay, this is new.
The cocoon of finality is actually one giant Herrscher core, and the other Herrscher cores are just projections of its powers through different dimensions.
Interesting.
This means that the only true Herrscher is the Herrscher of finality, and all the other Herrschers are like shadows of its power. Anti-entropy.
Oh, so that means Walt is actually less powerful, but he's still Emanator-like power, but that explains why I was thinking that the Eons were too much for the Herschels, because these Herschels are fake Herschels, and the real Herschel is probably, there's only one, it looks like. So if that's the case, there's only one true Herrscher, which is probably stronger than an Eon. But the Star Rail universe has many Eons. It's not just one Eon. And together they can stop the one Mega Herschel, I should say, or the true Herschel. That makes so much sense, actually. Alright.
Plan to stop the Honkai is to create an artificial Herrscher of Finality and let humanity take direct control over its authority to stop the Samsara and block the imaginary singularity from the cocoon to bring more Honkai energy into reality. Because Sirin could wield 6 authorities without losing herself, Entropy wants to gather all the Herrscher authorities and make Kiana into an artificial Herrscher of Finality. But more on that plan in another video. Oh, and chapter 34 also reveals that there are no Herrscher personas in the current era. What we thought that it was a Herrscher persona in May's case was actually the will inside her stigma this whole time. You see, May had a natural stigmata that gave birth to a wheel similar to Red Cele when her father implanted the Gem of Conquest inside her to save her life. This caused May to think that the other wheel was created by the Honkai, but in fact it was her stigma all along. Honestly, this makes more sense given what we know about Alicia's sacrifice. Is it a retcon? I mean, yeah, probably. I saw some people bringing Anna up and how she fought over control with her Herrscher persona. And while I see where they are coming from, these recent chapters also imply that a person can just lose control of themselves as a Herrscher if they are not well suited to adapt to that power. What happened with Anna was more like her going berserk and losing control over her own will. We never saw a Herrscher persona in there. The characters assumed that she was fighting one because they didn't know at that time that Honkai has no influence over Herrschers in this era.
Oh, the Eon Terminus. This is, so Finality is the Eon Terminus. This is, I fully believe, 100%, you can't convince me otherwise till more information comes out, that Arcavelli is Terminus. I did so much research on this, and the two sides of the same coin, and I believe Arcavelli's disappearance / death that Himiko mentioned is him turning into Terminus to fight the Honkai. Now, whether fight the Honkai, that's something that I just put in my thought process today of why he did this. However, I am fully convinced that Arcavelli, the guy who made the Astral Express, traveled the galaxy, got to his destination, became Terminus, and is now the Finality. Alright.
Because of the Sky People and the Sugars, we know that Honkai is not limited only to the world of Honkai Impact 3rd. But that begs the question, does this higher form of existence have a different name in other worlds? And oh boy, you'd be surprised. If you played through the beta of Honkai Star Rail, there was an interesting message on one of the loading screens that talked about a
I did not play the beta,
Terminus,
obviously.
and I quote, "The Eon that moves backwards in time and presides over the path of finality." Sounds familiar? Finality? Time? Eon? Not to mention that the loading screen is accompanied by this very familiar symbol. Look, I don't want to say anything since we lack evidence to make a foolproof connection, but there is a very high chance that this higher form of civilization on the imaginary tree that caused the Honkai to appear in the universe of Honkai Impact 3rd is Terminus, the Eon that resides over the path of finality. Oh, and I also think that the Sky People could be the Creed Okay, look, I have no freaking idea how to pronounce this. Who are worshippers of the Eon Terminus, said to await their encounter with him. So, what is
interesting?
Honkai? Well, it's a test. It's fiction. It's destiny. It's an alien civilization.
By the way, I'm gonna connect something that he didn't connect here, and so why are the Sky People so fixated with Himiko? Himiko is also the one who fixed the Astral Express. Terminus is related to Arcavelli in different forms, like modelism. It would make sense that the Sky People are fixated with Himiko, the fixer of the Astral Express, which is Terminus / Arcavelli's creation. It just makes perfect sense why they're fixated on Himiko, right? So I just want to throw that in there. Something he did not connect the dots to, but I did.
From a higher dimension that wants to eat us. It's an evolution mechanism.
It does further his theory on the Sky People, though. It is collaborating evidence to something that he thinks, and I 80% agree with him, if not more. Like it's entirely possible that the Sky People are the worshippers of Terminus.
Natural disaster. It's a concept beyond our understanding. Honkai can be interpreted and understood on a very large scale, and while none of these interpretations are particularly wrong, they will also never be able to encapsulate its whole meaning.
So, that's going to be it for today, those 2 hours. I think you sent a minute video. Yeah, it's right here. Let's go ahead and visit that. Okay. This is the video that you sent. And there is more information. And there is more information about the people of heaven. I'm guessing the people of heaven is the Sky People. What will be for the next one? We will probably look into the people of heaven. We looked into Welt and Himiko today. I'm sure I can scroll through Holio Labs and look up some concepts that we would think of. We could also just play the game, and we might do that. So we'll see. Vanya, this Vanya figures all over the place. We're like this since we're watching it. And it's grown-up Vanya. It's Vanya from Star Rail. It's not Honkai the Third. That's funny though. I like that. That was cute. Alright, so that's all we got today. This stream was only supposed to be like an hour and a half long. It's almost 3 hours. So I'm gonna get ready for the doctor's appointment, and then we are gonna play oh, you know what? I wanted to talk about this, and I don't know why this is a thing. But it's really funny because I am thinking about making an AMV of this. But this theme is so crazy with Evernight and the Lonely song. It's not even High Ceilings, which is literally the thing about like being the loneliest demigod or whatever. It's about Evernight just being the loneliest thing in Star Rail we've ever seen, and it's really funny. Let's see. They did this the other day, and I wanted to talk about it on stream. I might as well do it right now. Giant Evernight Lonely meme. I saw this last night, and I couldn't believe it, which made me think about it. They built a giant Evernight somewhere. I don't know. Giant Evernight made... it was a short that I saw, but I'm not sure. There was a giant Evernight made somewhere, and it was not in the game. Like, this Evernight meme is, like, everywhere. Giant Evernight made... Maybe if... Oh, right here. This is it. Look at that! Look at that! I don't want to get copyright. Can I turn off the sound somehow? Alright. Look at that. Look at that. It's a giant Evernight. Like, people are actually working on it. I just don't understand, guys. I don't understand. Alright, well, thank you so much for watching, and those that will watch in the future. I appreciate it. This is what Bronya looks like in the current game. Several years have passed in the game. Oh, okay, so that's what she looks like in Honkai Impact the Third now. She looks just like her Star Rail version. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, the game's been going on for 9 years, Honkai Impact the Third, so I'm sure characters look different than what we've seen so far. Thank you for everyone that watched. Hopefully I won't get in trouble for the little music I played. I'm not sure about Twitch's rules. I'm sure YouTube will be okay, but we will see if Twitch blows the gasket about it or not. Alright, thank you so much for watching, everybody. We will see you in the future, and we will be back later today. Alright, thank you.